Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
We pray for the security of the Empire, for the safety of our people, sheltered by our Lord's trusted allies. By ice, the Empire is protected.
We pray that our secrets will be kept, that no dark, forgotten vault will relinquish our Lord's greatest treasures. By shadow, the Empire shall persist.
We pray that justice will be dealt and malefactors hunted from realm to realm. May our Lord's judgment never rest. By blood, the Empire will know peace.
We pray that our enemies shall be vanquished, that they shall cower in fear. From the highest mountain to the deepest sea, by smoke, the Empire will be victorious.
We pray that the Empire shall never fall. We pray that the Empire shall never fall. We pray that the Empire shall never fall.
And the truth will be revealed once more.
Welcome to episode 239. Yeah, 239 of the Wilderness Podcast. I am your host, Dills, and we got a big thing to talk about. Guys, we have lots to talk about, but this episode we're going to talk about only one piece of news, but this is a big item. Desert Treasure 2, The Fallen Empire came out. I want to say recently, but I haven't recorded a podcast in over a month. So yeah, Desert Treasure 2 released in that little 1 month break I've been taking. And oh boy, has it ever. It is such a good quest. It is such a big piece of content. And honestly, my expectations for this content for some reason were kind of low, which sounds crazy when I think about it, but it's true. Guys, lots has happened since we last recorded. Maybe not a lot of exciting stuff, but I went to go visit family in Ontario. I grew up in Ontario, and last year decided to make a big move out of the province in Canada, and I moved out east about 16 hours, a 16-hour drive away, just because Ontario was unaffordable. I couldn't buy a house there. It was just so expensive. There's a lot of reasons. So twice a year, about 2 times a year, we head back to go visit family. And that's what happened last month. I went to go visit family for the entire month of July, and it was nice. 1 month is a long time. And I love my in-laws. They're great. I really do feel at home there, but it's just, it's not home. It's a little bit tougher. I went there expecting to do a podcast, multiple podcasts. I brought my whole setup there. It just didn't work out. It's a little bit harder to carve out that time to do some podcasting, and then you got family, so there's an expectation to kind of visit with them and all that sort of fun stuff. So anyways, we didn't get to record, which means we're a couple weeks out since Desert Treasure 2 has released. I did get to spend some time with it, and it was, it's a big piece of content. It's a big piece of content. But I wasn't, my expectations were kind of low, and I don't know why. When I think about it, I don't know. So Desert Treasure 2 was set to release. I didn't book any time off. I knew that I would do the quest eventually, but I had no schedule to get it done right on time. It came out on a Wednesday. I think it was, let's look back here. Bring up my calendar. On the 26th, I'm pretty sure is when it was released, of July. And I was still working. So Normally I book the day off to do a piece of content like this. I would book a day, maybe 2 off, or like if it was Dragon Slayer 2, I called in sick for work. I mean, it worked out the day before. My throat, I had a scratchy throat and I lost my voice a little bit, so I can kind of get away with that. So it worked out perfectly. So the second day I was like, yeah, I'm still sick. And everyone's like, yeah, fine, that makes sense. And here I am shredding some Dragon Slayer 2. Song of the Elves came out. I worked at a radio station. I was this assistant music programmer. So part of my job was like listening to, oh my God, I would get CDs from all over Canada, from all these different bands. And part of my job was to listen to every single one of them. I didn't have to listen to all the way through of it. Some of it was pretty rough to listen to. But there's some good music. Oh man, there's some small bands out there that are killing it. But that was part of my job, and my boss was gone to this golfing tournament for a week, and I was the only one in the radio station. There was radio hosts and stuff, but they don't give a shit what was going on. So I was able to get caught up in my work, and then I just spent all day doing Song of the Elves when it was released, right in the radio station. So that was a lot of fun. But then Desert Treasure 2 was coming, and I just like didn't even think to book time off or even call in sick. I was like, yeah, I'll get to it when I get to it. Knowing that Desert Treasure is so iconic. So I don't really know where my head was at, because once it came out and I was doing it, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I wish I booked some time off, because it took me over a week to complete the quest. That's insane. And I did it. Every time I was on RuneScape, I was doing the quest. It's a long quest, and I didn't have a lot of time. So, I'd jump on for an hour and a half and I would chunk out part of the quest there. Part of the reason it took so long too is I wasn't using any quest guides. And I always encourage people to try to avoid using quest guides whenever you can. I've noticed my relationship, my attitude, the way I view like RuneScape and its gains has shifted over the years. Beforehand, like the quests were kind of these things I had to do to get to certain rewards. It might be like demonic gorillas for Monkey Madness 2, or maybe it's getting access to Vorkath, or getting access to Prifdina's and the Gauntlet and all that sort of stuff. Quests were just kind of in the way. There were these like tasks that I had to do to get the rewards. I never thought of it as like these quests are all these like short stories, or sometimes they're these long stories, but each quest is like a chapter in that saga. And like many of us do, call themselves the Spacebar Warriors. We hop on, we watch Slayer music on YouTube. Maybe you're on the wiki or using the quest helper on RuneLite. And you're just kind of zoning out and just doing whatever your tool is telling you what to do next. And so you miss a lot of the lore and the story that's going on. And because of this, the quests I always found them pretty boring. I hate questing. I just want the rewards. I need Barrow's Glove, so I have to do all these quests. But they're not really that fun to do. But part of it is you're just space barring through. That's not really fun. Really what changed things is I went over to RuneScape 3 and I started doing some quests on there, and I realized that the quests were so well done. The stories being told were so good that I was like, I don't want to use a quest guide. I just want to read these and see what happens. I was probably on mobile too, maybe. And it really opened my eyes to how fun these quests are when you're actually doing them the way they were supposed to be done. I've just noticed I'm less in a rush on RuneScape these days. Maybe it's because my account is pretty far along. I've spent a lot of time on it. I'm kind of close to maxing. And I think part of it is I've realized that once you complete a grind, it's done. You move on to the next thing. But for me, sometimes I complete a grind and there's not a lot of next things to jump into. I have a bunch of AFK grinds that I do. Fishing for the fishing pet. I was doing Firewatch Sentinels, trying to get a blood shard for my collection log. I was mining my way to 99 mining and for the rock golem, right? And I completed all of that. And my only AFK grind left is the beaver pet. And I was thinking, I kind of hope I go super dry on this pet so I can keep doing it, because once it's done, well, then now what? I don't really have anything else to do. I guess I could keep wood cutting for money, but not having this end point, I don't know. It just doesn't feel the same. I feel like you need to see that end point for a grind to really feel like it matters. In general, I've been thinking a lot about my relationship with RuneScape. A lot. I would say the past year. I've been thinking about it because this game offers me so much. It is such, I really love this game. Part of it, I grew up playing it, so I have so many great memories of it. I have so many amazing friends. I do most of my socializing on this game. So when I did move out east, I didn't have a lot of friends. I had no friends. I had no family out here. And it's hard to make friends when you're 30 years old. You have to really put yourself out there, and it's not the same. It's really not the same. When you're in school, you just like, if someone was the same age as you and you guys liked the same thing like Nerf guns, which everyone did, you became friends. Let's play with these friggin' Nerf guns. Go play Yu-Gi-Oh cards, whatever it is. It's a little bit harder now, So I use this game as a great tool for socializing. And I've been really pulled into this game in the last few months. I've been doing a lot of PVMing. I have been having a great time on my main account. I've been just really grinding through things and really pushing myself. I really am trying to get better at certain things like Tombs of Amascut. I'm trying to really push myself into those higher invocations so I can unlock the recolors. Tombs of Amascut is this raid where you can turn on these settings to make the raid a little bit more difficult. And as you do, the raid level increases. And part of the thing that people do with this raid is they push up the raid level as high as they can do it. And once you hit a certain threshold for that raid level, if you can complete it without dying, you'll get yourself recolors. And it's kind of a flex item, right? You see somebody with these recolors, you're like, wow, this guy either paid someone to do it for them or this person games. So I've been kind of pushing myself there. I want people to look at me and be like, damn, this guy's a gamer. Right now, people look at me and they're just like, wow, this guy spent a lot of time on this account and has like very little accomplishments to really show, which is fine. It's all about our journey in this game. But I play this game a lot. I play it every day. Every evening. My routine is me and my wife, we finish dinner, we clean the kitchen, we, take out the garbage, all that boring stuff. And then I go and play RuneScape for like 2 hours, hour and a half. And then I go upstairs. We might watch a little bit of TV. Then me and the missus, we go to bed. I do that every night. I love it. I have such a great time. Sometimes I wonder if I'm like missing out on life a little bit because I play this game so much, like so routinely. I wanted to have a fire. We were supposed to have a fire tonight. Not just supposed to, but me and my wife were talking, let's have a nice fire. Let's sit outside. We'll drink a beer, drink some wine, whatever it is. We'll sit out and have a campfire. And I was like, that sounds great. But maybe not tonight because I made some plans to do some Theater of Blood. That kind of happens a lot. I kind of make plans with people and then, of course, you could just cancel those plans, but I don't like to do that. If I make plans with someone, I like to see them through. But now because of it, we're halfway through August. We haven't had a fire yet. To be fair, we were gone for an entire month, but still, sometimes things happen in the evening and I see them as like roadblocks. Like, oh, I was supposed to game tonight. Now I can't game. And I wonder if I'm just like too connected to technology in general, right? RuneScape is very engaging. It's way more engaging than sitting outside and having a fire. When I'm playing RuneScape, I'm playing RuneScape, doing something that's probably high focus, high intensity, like PVMing. I'm talking to multiple people on voice chat usually. Got some music playing. And usually somebody else is streaming. A couple people might be streaming and I'm watching them as well. That's a lot of like stimuli that's going on all at once. And I notice it. I'll go up to go take a pee. I sit down to pee. My wife gave me so much shit for pissing on the toilet bowl. She get upset. So I started sitting down to pee and it's all right. It's actually really relaxing. It feels weird to stand now. I hate going to urinals. But when I go to sit down to pee, I pull up my phone and I watch some TikTok or I go on Reddit, look at some posts there. I'm peeing for like 10 seconds. I did that the other day and I was like, what am I doing? Why can't I was like thinking, I feel like I need to get rid of my smartphone. I need to get like a flip phone where you can't do anything but call people and text people on it. I wonder if I should do that because I just feel like I'm probably missing so much of just like life. I'm not sitting down just to think anymore. I go out for walks and I throw on a podcast. I go for a jog and listen to music as I'm running, which is fair. Tons of people do that. I used to work with this guy when I worked in construction, and I would listen to podcasts all day long. That's how I got into making a RuneScape podcast. It was because at the time, there was no good RuneScape podcasts out there. I tried to find some to listen to, couldn't find any. I found like 1 or 2 podcasts on YouTube, and I just couldn't really get into them. Nowadays, there's so many great shows. Just go on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, type in Old School RuneScape. You'll find a bunch. Go listen to them. They're great. But I used to listen to podcasts all the time when I worked in construction. I worked with this guy. His name's Joe. And we would talk, and I'd be like, man, you never listen to anything. No music, no podcasts. How do you get through the day? Like, I'm so bored. And he says, I just like love to think, and I'll just sit there and think and observe. I don't want podcasts to always be fed into my brain, because it's just going to affect it. That becomes the norm. And next thing you know, you're like never just alone with your own thoughts. And maybe that's a scary thing, but so think about it a lot. RuneScape is like my main hobby. It's one of my main hobbies, and I love it. But sometimes I wonder if it's too big of a hobby for me and it's limiting certain things. I wonder if like I'm not learning other life skills because I focus on the game too much. Maybe I'm overthinking things. I'm a bit of an overthinker. But I've been thinking a lot about my life and what I want out of my future. And it's not like, oh, I don't want to play RuneScape anymore. But I wonder if I need to properly balance things out a little bit more. Just so that if something pops up and I can't play RuneScape that night, I'm not sitting there being like, damn, I wish I had this night to myself. When we were traveling back from our trip to see family, like I said, it's about a 16-hour drive. So we typically stop once or twice for the night. This trip, actually, we stopped once both ways. So it was about, we did about a 5-hour drive one day and then about almost 12 hours the second day, which is tough. That's a lot. But we would end up at a motel that first night. We'd drive 5 hours. We'd get there at a nice time, like maybe 8 or 9 o'clock at night. So we would smoke a little bit of weed. And we go sit in the motel and we would chill. Right? And in my head, I was so excited to play mobile, to jump on my phone, to just veg out on the couch and play RuneScape on my phone all evening next to my wife. I thought that was going to be an amazing time. Both times, though, I would go lay down, and 15, 20 minutes later, I'm so tired and I'm ready for bed. I'm exhausted. And I was just so disappointed in myself. I wish I could like drink a Red Bull, stay up for the night and play some more RuneScape. Same thing happened. I had this work outing that happened last month. It was like a fun day. We went to a spa. Just a bunch of pools, really. Hot pools, cold pools for some reason. These cold plunges are really in. I don't care what people say, that does not feel like it's good for your body. Saunas are apparently not that great. Like, they're not bad for you, but they're not good for you either. Apparently. I always thought they were like really good for your body. They clean your pores out. I don't think they do. I don't think they clean your pores out at all. I don't even know what the hell that means. It just sounds cool. It sounds good. Cleaning up my pores. Little holes in my skin. Why the fuck do they need to be cleaned? Are they all clogged? That's what I think. You need a sauna because your skin holes are all plugged up with friggin' dirt and gunk and other gross shit. I don't think that's what's happening when you do a sauna. I looked it up and it's like, it de-stresses you and it's good for your mental health if you enjoy it, but it's really not got too many health benefits. But apparently cold plunges do. I don't know. I've done no research, but I did a cold plunge. It doesn't feel like it's doing anything good for you. It feels like it's actually like killing you slowly. I was at this work event though, and it was an overnight event. And so we got there and then we enjoyed the spa for the day. And then we went to have dinner, and then dinner ended around 8 o'clock at night. And in my head, I was thinking, oh, great. Now, what else is there to do? Everyone's going to retreat to their rooms probably. Maybe some people will go hang out, but you kind of have the evening to yourself. I'm like, I'm going to go home. I'm going to turn on the TV. I'm going to lay on the couch and I'm going to play RuneScape on my phone all night. This is the first time in years, maybe, that I've been fully alone and able to like just unwind. No wife, no kid, no one else around you. It's just you and whatever the hell you want to do. I haven't had that in a long time and I was really looking forward to that. But then dinner finished and everyone's like, let's go have a fire. And I was like, I do not want to, no. I want to, let's go up in our rooms and play RuneScape. Can we all agree to that? Let's all go play RuneScape in our rooms. So I went to go have a fire. I'm not just going to not have a fire. So I went to hang out. And it was nice to see everyone, but I was really tired. And the only seat available was next to my CEO. And she's awesome. I really like her, but like, there's like this obligation to talk. At least it felt like it because you're sitting next to the CEO and you don't want to just like sit there quietly. But also I was a bit intimidated because she was the big boss. It was late at night too, so I was really tired. And I thought if I took an edible, it would wake me up. And it didn't. It was like it was such a bad idea. I sat there like not wanting to talk at all. And then everyone retreated to their rooms around 11:40. And I was so tired. I was a little disappointed though. That's what I mean. I get disappointed when I'm like, oh, I just want to play RuneScape. And I wonder if like, is that an unhealthy relationship? It's hard. Well, why do you guys play RuneScape? Let me know. Call in, leave a message, SpeakPipe, link it below in the description of the episode. But why do you play RuneScape? What is it about this game that keeps you coming back over other hobbies or other games? That's another thing too. I try to play other games sometimes and I'll spend a day or two playing them. And then boom, I'm back on this game. We did an episode on addiction a few episodes ago. And I wonder, like, do I have this unhealthy addiction to RuneScape? Or does it just offer me a lot of things that I'm not getting from my other hobbies, like being able to socialize? Or like having this clear progression in something. Sometimes life isn't as this clear progression that RuneScape has. It can be. Like, I need to lose weight. That could be easily some clear progression. That's another thing too. When am I going to work out? Well, you could do it in the evening, but then there's all my time that would have gone to play RuneScape. So I'm going to replace RuneScape with working out. Then what? Can't just not play this game anymore. So it's tough. Yeah. Why do you guys play it? Why this game over other games? Do you think you'll play it forever? I have this problem where I think of the hobbies that I do and I think, can I continue doing this hobby long term? And when I say long term, I mean like 50 years in the future. When I'm 70 years old, am I going to be able to still do this hobby? I don't know why I think like that. But I have a lot of memories of this game. I do. I often worry if I played this game as much as I do now and I just always played it this much, when I'm 50, 60, 70 years old, am I going to look back on my life and just remember myself sitting in this chair? I don't want that. But at the same time, when I think of myself playing RuneScape in the past as a kid, I have so many great memories. And the memories are never me sitting in the chair. It's what I'm doing in the game. They say that about Dungeons and Dragons, that when you create these stories, these memories of your character, the brain that stores these memories, like your real life memories, Dungeons and Dragons memories of your characters get stored in there too. So if you're playing D&D and you kill, a dragon, your brain will put that aside. And when you think back on that memory, you might not remember yourself sitting at that table rolling dice. You might. But what your brain will remember even more is what was your character doing during that fight, right? You'll probably think back on the memory and you'll probably be able to remember what you were picturing. Kind of RuneScape does that in a way. I have some really strong memories of Desert Treasure 1. It's a cool quest. It's such an iconic quest. You unlocked ancient magics. That was like a game, like unlocking new spells. And these weren't just normal spells. These spells were so powerful. I mean, they still are. But when you're a kid and you're unlocking ancient magics, holy shit. You're doing area damage, AoE, and you could like freeze somebody so they can't move anymore. Or you can sap their health and heal yourself. That's insane. I did Desert Treasure 3 times. Once on my main, that was tough. Again on my pure. And when I did that on my pure, I remember all my friends were thinking, holy shit, they thought of me as like the Wooks of RuneScape back in the day. So then I would have another friend come up to me, he's like, please do Desert Treasure for me. I can't beat it. So I remember spending 4 hours completing it for him. I remember I'd get home from school at like 3:30. I jumped on the computer and played all night till about 8 o'clock or so. It was such a good quest though. And the area, honestly, the desert area doesn't get, well, it has recently, but the desert area was always this weird space. It's kind of like, it's almost on par with the wilderness in a lot of ways. I just had this cool idea. But when I say that it's on par with the wilderness, it's a dangerous area. The wilderness, you can bump into other PKers. That's scary. And there's a bunch of monsters that'll fuck you up as well. The desert, though, it's not the people you're worried about. It's like the heat. First off, the heat will just drain, it would just damage you over time if you don't have water skins or desert clothes on. And there's like jackals, crocodiles, other things that are just going to attack you when they see you. They're like super aggressive. And when you first enter the desert, not knowing how dangerous of an area it is, that can be kind of scary. You're walking out there and knowing you're on borrowed time. There's not a whole lot of methods to transport or get it. There's not really a lot of safe places. If you're in the desert, you could easily die. You can get lost and stuck out in the desert, or you can bump into like the wrong little town, the little bandit camp or something. And next thing you know, you're getting piled by a bunch of people who are just killing you. So it's kind of like the wilderness and how dangerous it is. Here's a quick idea. How cool would it be if they made the desert kind of what RuneScape 3 did? RuneScape 3 turned the wilderness into a non-PvP zone. They just made it really dangerous for PvM. You can still kind of PvP in it. That's a whole other thing. But the people weren't really PvPing in the wilderness anymore, and they didn't really like getting PK'd. So the wilderness became this still dangerous area, this very scary place to be, but because of the PvM dangers, not so much the PvP. We should do that with the desert. You already have that element with the some of the mobs you bump into, but also just the damage you take from the heat, dying of dehydration. It's kind of a cool survival area. You got to bring a slash item, like a knife. I think you could do it with a scimitar as well. And you have to cut cactus, hoping that it's going to give you like a drink of water. Oh, that's awesome. The desert's a cool place though. And I always wish I knew more about the lore in general. I've been thinking about bringing on some guests where we just talk about lore. We used to have a lore segment, and it was really fun because I learned a lot. It just took a lot of time to research. Here's the problem with lore. It's boring as fuck. It's so boring to read. The concepts and the ideas are always really interesting and cool. But holy shit, whoever the hell is writing lore. Oh, and it's not just RuneScape. It's like everything. It's always so boring. I get it though. Lore is always written like it's a textbook or a history book. It's never written like a story. Just so friggin' boring to read. RuneScape's like that, unfortunately. There's this card game I play called Flesh and Blood. And so with Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, you kind of have your deck. Right? You just play them. You have like your monsters or Pokemon in there. And that's it. You like put together an army and you're facing another army. Flesh and Blood, it's kind of like League of Legends, or it's more like a fighting game, like Street Fighter, where you pick your hero and that's your card and has their own abilities. And then you can build a deck with certain cards that go with that hero. So you play with these heroes. And there's all this lore tied to this game, and it's all on the company's website. And I go to read it because I want to learn more about these heroes. Plus, you just get certain cards that are telling more of the story, and you're like, oh, this is cool. And every new set of cards is talking about this. Like this new set of cards came out recently called From Dusk Till Dawn, and it was about this war that was happening between these two factions, this shadow faction and this light faction. And the cards you get from this set are all about this war. So you might have a card that's like showing these people fighting. It sounds really cool. I go on the website to read the lore, and it is just so boring to read because they're not really telling you the story. They're just telling you facts. They're telling you about this place, about these people. But it's always written like way more complex than it should be. Lore like that is in RuneScape is like that as well. I think in general, right? Destiny 2, I found the same thing. Holy shit. So there's a lot of value in like listening to someone else talk about it because then they paraphrase things in their own words and they're a good storyteller. They can make it way more exciting. You know, I love hearing people tell me about lore from other games or stories, books, whatever it is. I watched this YouTuber. He's a Dungeons and Dragons channel called Matt Colville. Love Matt Colville. And he does videos where he would talk about like Dune because he was a big Dune fan. And he talks about concepts and ideas and characters. And he's a writer too. So he's just really good with his words. And it's so much fun to listen to. And then I go read the book Dune and it's fucking boring. Sorry for everyone who loves Dune. I know there's a lot of big Dune fans, but I found the book really boring. I couldn't get into it. Very slow. But I love the way he talked about the story that was being told and the concepts, this prison planet, Arrakis, the prison planet. For some reason, RuneScape doesn't really have a whole lot of lore channels. The reason I say this is because when I did Desert Treasure 2, I tried to brush up on the lore because Desert Treasure 2 is the next chapter in this giant story of the Majoret and Zeros, the Zerosian Empire. There's a lot of parts of the story that have already happened, like the dig site quest when you're uncovering a city from the dig site, Senetzen. When we're doing the dig site quest, we're not thinking about what the hell we're uncovering. Is this ancient Zerosian city called Senetzen? No, we're just like, okay, press 2 because quest helper told me to. So you have all of this like parts of the stories that you've kind of missed. So I tried to go back and learn about it because I did just spacebar through Desert Treasure 1 and it was like, it's kind of tough. Not a whole lot of resources that will really break it down. Even the wiki, it's like somewhat helpful, but it's all split off in so many different parts of it. So we got to get a lore junkie on the show. We got to really talk about it. But Desert Treasure 1, it kind of surrounds this Majoret being. This Majoret is this ancient race, kind of like the Dragonkin from Dragon Slayer 2. The Majoret are these like eternal beings. They can live for a really, 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 really long time. In Desert Treasure 1, from my understanding, in my memory of it, it surrounds releasing this Majoret from their prison named Azanadra. But yeah, you have to get these 4 crystals in Desert Treasure 1 from these 4 different bosses, and it unlocks this prison that this Majoret, Azanadra, is stuck in. And when you do, he gives you access to ancient magics, almost as like a reward for freeing him. Azanadra was this like ancient Majoret who served Zeros. And Zeros is this, you know, I think they call him the Empty Lord, maybe the Forgotten Lord. It was this god that was like super, it really ran, it was like top dog back in the day, Zeros was. Had this huge empire, which is really cool. You learn about it from paying attention to these goddamn quests. His empire spanned all the way from the desert, all the way through Varrock and into the wilderness. The wilderness was like all part of this Zerosian Empire. And what's kind of cool, makes sense when you think about it, when you get access to ancient magics, every one of those teleports, Senetzen, Lasser, Kalarangar, sorry. These are all cities or different parts of the city of the greater Zerosian Empire area. GZA. That's a huge city. It's kind of cool when you think about it, right? I never really thought about it until you start doing these quests and you're like, oh, Dariak, this like teleport that brings you, and I think it brings you to where the the crazed archaeologist is. It's like this ruined town. You're like, oh shit, this probably used to be a part of the Zerosian cities. Right? Kind of like the standard, like it's kind of cool. Of course, the reason why they're all fucked up now is because the God Wars happened. And it basically happened from Zamorak trying to assassinate Zeros. Zamorak was like this other Majorate who followed Zeros, and then I guess was just like, yeah, I'm going to kind of split. We're going to do a little split here. And they tried to kill him and take his powers. And it actually allowed Zamorak to ascend into godhood. And then it created this giant God Wars because now Zamorak and Zeros was fighting, and then Saradomin jumped into it for some reason. And then Bandos came out of nowhere and their little goblin boys came out. They're like, yeah, we're all going to have a little bit of a clusterfuck. But what I think is really cool about the lore, and it's like, it's a trope that is featured in so many games, so many stories, Dungeons and Dragons all the time. Like literally, this is a theme that happens all the time. But it's the theme that we live in this post-apocalyptic world. We live in a time after the Golden Ages, the collapse of all these cities and empires. They fell apart and were destroyed. Now we have our like Varrock and stuff, but like the Zerosian Empire was way bigger and more prosperous than any of the cities we have now. So like we're in like the aftermath, like all these ruined temples. I remember I heard this story with, I listened to a podcast, Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. One of the earlier episodes, it's about the Bronze Age, right? Which is like 3000 BC. And you had all these Bronze Age empires. I think like the Assyrians were one of them. Of these sprawling cities and kingdoms. And then something happened and everyone disappeared. And the next thing you know, 2,000 years later, people are wandering upon these ruined cities, these abandoned cities. And they're like, whoa, who the hell built these? And the cities that they like found were way better than any of the cities that existed. So like the Bronze Age was this like really popping off time. Like people were probably like living life to the fullest. Something happened. They all died, and people lived in other towns and cities and villages that were way less advanced as those empires were. So that story of the Third Age, or the Bronze Age, happened in RuneScape 2 because during the Zerosian Empire, during the Second Age, it was like the Golden Age. It was when all of the best weapons were being made. The God swords that we wield today, we don't know how to make the God swords. We just find them. We find these broken weapons and we're like, oh, sick. Third Age armor and all that sort of stuff. Way better than Rune, which was like our best at the time. And so it being 30, that's probably like what all the warriors wore back then. Everyone was decked out in Third Age, which is way better than Rune armor, which is what all of our soldiers would be decked out with. I could say dragon, but I think dragon is really hard to make. And you find them just from digging up these chests during treasure trails. You just find these old ancient pieces of armor. You're like, oh shit. These ancient magics that people could probably like just freely use, and then they just like forgot how to use it, or all the people who could use it died during. And then so the God Wars happens. This huge world war that caused the collapse of all these cities, all these empires. And the Zerosian Empire completely fell apart. Look at the wilderness. The place is fucked. That place is fucked. It used to be like a paradise, probably. It's like Rome back in the day. So you free this Majra that served Zeros back in the day. It gives you ancient magics. Cool stuff. And then Desert Treasure 2 kind of starts off with you stumbling across this ancient vault. So let's talk about Desert Treasure 2. I know we're a little far into this and we're just starting it now. Sorry. But you come across this like ancient vault. First off, I love when quests start off with you not talking to someone. This quest begins when you just like find this door of this like ancient, vault. And then once you get in, you meet somebody who's this archaeologist and they're like, I need your help. We're going to try to unlock these 4 doors. Because you go into this ancient vault and you see these 4 statues with these 4 doors. No, there's no doors. You see these 4 statues though, and they're all missing something. They're supposed to be holding something. And when you read the plaque, they're all like these. It's a kind of cryptic, but it gives you these details of like, yeah, you can find these medallions and put them on this statue, and it'll open something up. So that's how Desert Treasure 2 starts, which is kind of cool. I love that you don't start it from talking to someone. You just start from stumbling across this area, and then your character goes, oh shit, well, I got to figure out what's going on here. I like that. That's cool. That's very immersive. How often, like, it reminds me of like you going for a walk or a hike, and then you see this, like, you see something, you're like, I'm gonna go see what's over there. And so the quest is broken up into like basically 4 main bosses that you need to defeat. They're going to be some slight spoilers, by the way. I won't go into like hard spoilers, but I'm going to talk about the areas and talk about some of the fights a little bit and some of the themes and the cool things that happened during the quest. So just a heads up. So like the first thing that happens in the quest is you end up having to fight this like ancient guardian. It's a pretty easy fight overall, but it is, if you're a low level or pure or something, it might be a bit of a doozy. But you fight this ancient guardian, then eventually powers down and you can actually feed it script. Like you can type words and it'll tell you more things. It'll have a response. Jagex mentioned they have like just under 100 different responses it could say. Anyways, you can type in like you can type in like the names of the 4 bosses you're gonna have to fight and it'll tell you more information on it. What's kind of cool though, it's like this goes back to this, we're living in this post-apocalyptic world. Because they have these ancient guardians, these robots. I don't even know what you want to call it, but they're like these robotic tech golems that would just be programmed to like protect areas. We can't do that now. We don't have access to robots. And we saw the same thing when you're doing the quest of the golem, which is also in the desert. If you remember that quest, you have to like, there's this golem that barely works and you have to get it like turned back on by feeding it like different pieces of the ruins of Uzur. That's the area. You have to give it you have to basically repair it. Same idea. These like robots that protect the area. So you have to fight one of those, the first quest. But basically the quest is broken into 4 different chapters, like I mentioned. And the first chapter that I did was the Whisperer. So slight spoilers on what these themes are, but the Whisperer, it's really cool. You go into the ruins of Camdozel. You go to the underground dungeon, whatever you want to call it, that you unlock from below Ice Mountain. And I remember when Below Ice Mountain was added, there's this room that's located in it. And it always felt so planned out because it's just this empty room with this giant hole. Turns out it was for this quest. I don't know if they just added it in with like, we'll do something with this area eventually, or did they actually, like, did they have Desert Treasure 2 in the making? And they're like, when we add Camdozel, add this little area because it's going to be featured when we go explore more of Desert Treasure 2. So you climb down this hole and it's this like lost city. You have to do this type of puzzle trying to gain access to different buildings and different rooms that you can get another piece to upgrade your torch or another item that allow you to get to another area. But the cool part about this is you see these like pools on the ground. And when you click it, it brings you into the Shadow Realm. So you go into this shadow area, so you see the city, it all looks the same, but certain things are now there that weren't there before. Maybe there's like an area that's blocked when you're in the real world, but when you're in the shadow world, that area is only blocked by tendrils, these weird like tentacle things. So when you get your torch, you can burn the tentacles in the shadow realm, and that allows you to go to get through the obstacle in the real world. So that's what you have to do. You're kind of bouncing between these two different areas. It was a lot of fun. It took a lot of backtracking, though. This is the problem, that it took me multiple days to do this part. And every time I came back, I had to basically spend 20 minutes reminding myself where I've been and what I have to do. I actually use a lot of tile markers to leave myself notes. The Whisperer fight is really cool. I'm not going to try to explain this fight because I feel like anytime I've had to do that in the past, it's just white noise. But what's really cool about this boss is a lot of it is about going into the Shadow Realm to give yourself information and then getting back into the real world to continue fighting the boss. Because when you're in the Shadow Realm, you can see things. Things appear there that weren't in the real world, and you need to know that you need to see what's appearing to help you with the boss fight. There's things like these pillars pop up, and some of the pillars are more decaying than the other ones are. And then the boss starts doing these attacks, and you need to hide behind the pillars. And if you go in the Shadow Realm, you can see what pillar has the most health, basically. Good to get behind that one so you're safe. So that's the first section. The second section that I went through was the Duke Succulus part of the quest. If you've done Secrets of the North, where you're in that Gorok prison, if you remember, you're in that like ice dungeon where Muspa is. What's really cool about this part of the quest is you end up going into the prison. Like you get thrown into the jail cell and you lose all of your items. You and this assassin that's kind of trying to help you. I think it's the idea is it's the assassin from Desert Treasure 1, if you remember that. But you're in this prison cell and you've lost all of your items. And then you're able to break out. And then it's like doing these puzzles to try, and then just trying to get to the chest that has your items. And this section has so many puzzles. I did this without a guide, and so I didn't actually use a guide, but I did cheat because I had to ask people to tell me how to do these puzzles because they were so hard to do. But it was really cool. You went to jail. They took all of your items. You're just naked. And I loved that. You know, another trope you see in games is like games starting off, or there's a section where you get thrown into jail and you lose your items. And part of that is getting your items back. But when it's done right, I love those sections. It reminded me of Final Fantasy VII. There's a part in that quest, in that game, where you get thrown into jail. And you and your party are just like kind of trying to figure out what's going on. You guys go to sleep or something happens, and then you wake up and it's like dead quiet. And one of the doors is like ripped open. And then as you walk through the prison you're in, everyone's dead. And there's blood all over the walls. And something happened and killed everyone. And it's like, holy fuck. You feel so helpless. It's kind of cool in video games because usually you get to a point where you have the best weapons, you have the best armor, you have so much food and supplies that you can take most fights. Most of the fights just take a little bit of planning. But these jail sections always make you feel so helpless. You have nothing. If you get into a fight with someone, you got no weapons to fight back. So I really like that theme for the second part of Desert Treasure 2 and going through the quest. It's a lot of fun. The boss itself, pretty gruesome looking. One of the coolest looking bosses in the game. At the same time, one of the less engaging fights of the bosses. Look it up. Duke Succulus. It looks nasty, and the pet is really, really cool. In the boss fight, they featured this thing where you need to like prep these potions first, and you need to use the potions to poison the monster, the boss, in order for it to wake up. A lot of people don't like this section because after you kill the boss, you basically have to go run around, do these agility things, and then a little bit of herb lore. Once you've gotten a medallion, this cool thing happens where you start getting jumped by these, I forget what they're called, like mysterious strangers pop up, and they're trying to kill you. And you can run away, or you can fight, or you can kill them. But they pop up randomly. And the first time it popped up, I didn't have any gear on me. And I had to just run away. And it teleblocks you. It teleblocks you and it tries to freeze you. And it goes from range to melee to mage. Like it switches between the attack styles and what it's praying. It's really cool. Like it's an actual PK fight. And I didn't have any items, so I just had to dip and I ran. And eventually I was able to get away. I had to run because I couldn't teleport. It teleblocked me. And I was like, wow, that was cool. That mysterious stranger pops up a few times in this quest. And the reason I bring it up now, because there was a part where the mysterious stranger jumped me after the Duke section and before the Vardorvis section. That was the next one I did. And I was teleporting to walk back to the ancient vault, and suddenly a random event popped up right when I was at the Narda altar. It was the sandwich lady being like, "Hey, Dills, have a fresh baguette on me." Like, sweet. I'll get my collection log. So I clicked on the sandwich lady to do the event, and she changed into the mysterious stranger and started fighting me. And it was like, "Ha, I tricked you." And I was blown away. I was like, that is so fucking cool. Holy shit. I was not expecting that. That is such a good idea. And when I was talking to other people in voice chat, being like, "Holy shit, this sandwich lady just turned into the mysterious stranger." Other people were like, "What? That never happened to me." And I was like, "Holy shit. Can this mysterious stranger turn into other random events, or can it, like, is that in itself random?" That's awesome. That is so sick. It's really cool. There's a lot of innovative ideas in this quest. So that happened. And then I moved on to the third part, Vardorvis, this like weird tentacle. This was probably my favorite part of the quest, I think. A lot of people don't like this section, but I thought it was so good. It's a zombie section. You have to go to this island, and there's these people who are infected with this like fungus. It reminds you of The Last of Us. And so you're in this area, and it's kind of like a stealth segment. And those parts usually suck. Those are usually like awful sections where you're having to like avoid people from line of sighting you, and like the docks from Monkey Madness 2. Awful quest. That's such an awful part of the quest. But I was glad that they didn't make this the same. So you have this other bar that's like, it's kind of like the insanity meter, but it's like how healthy you are, I think. And every time they attack you, it's going to go up a little bit on top of their damage. So you just want to avoid being hit too many times that it goes all the way up. This one's cool. If a zombie sees you, it's going to try to attack you. There's also these like plant roots, this fungus that are growing around. And if you step on it, any zombies in the area will be alerted and they'll come at you. What's really, really badass is that they don't just like walk at you like most monsters do. The zombies sprint. They're like the 28 days later zombies. They come running so quickly at you. And that's when I realized not many monsters in this game run. Most of them walk, because when they run, holy crap, do they move fast. And it feels like it's a rush when you're being chased by a bunch of them and you're sprinting and you're like, every tick that I mess up and like mess my movement up, they're getting so much closer and they just sprint at you. It is awesome. You kind of have to figure, like, do you kill the zombies? Do you just run from them? Do you freeze them? That's another thing you can do. Bring some barrages and freeze them. And eventually get to the end. You got to fight this boss who is like this infected. It's like, you know, from Last of Us, that big, the TV show, the big clicker that like is all beefed up. And I think it explodes eventually. It's like sort of like that. Instead, it's not super huge. It's just wacky looking. You have all these axes being flown at you and you have to dodge them and you have to attack it. So this is one of the fights I don't know too well because I haven't really done it a lot yet. I was able to brute force it in the quest and complete it, but I don't know exactly how it runs. So I haven't done the non-quest versions. But it was cool. There's this part of the boss fight, which I thought was kind of cool, but other people hate it. This thing pops up on your screen and it's like these blood vessel things. You have to click them to pop them. And once you pop them all, you can go back to fighting the boss. But it's really cool that it pops up right on your screen, like in front of your character, right? It's a little breaking the fourth wall a little bit because your character's not doing anything. It's you, the player, is having to click these vessels. So what people have mentioned is it feels like you're doing this mini game in the middle of a boss fight. This mini game that has nothing to do with the boss fight. But again, I thought it was a pretty innovative idea, so I did like that they did it. And then the fourth part of the quest is the Leviathan. And this area is like you're stepping it into the rift or this abyss area. And you have to go through the Guardians of the Rift section. There's like a portal that you can go through there. But yeah, the Guardians of the Rift area is really just protecting. There's a rift between the abyssal world and the real world. And the Guardians of the Rift are there just to protect the abyssal demons from coming through, pretty much. I'm probably getting some of that wrong, but I think that's the gist of it. So you go into this abyss and you have to go complete these puzzles. And they're a lot easier. They're much less, you don't have to be very smart to do them, which is great for me. And you go through, you just have to do these bunch of these different puzzles, and then it unlocks the final boss. And this final boss is probably my favorite of the bosses because it is so much fun. This giant serpent looking thing, it looks badass. And the whole fight is such high intensity. It's just shooting. Oh, you got to try it out. It is so intense and you feel like a gamer when you're doing it. But you kill the Leviathan, you get your final medal, and then it unlocks the last part of the quest. You can enter the vault. And there's all these Majorate characters that are kind of walking you through it. And then you realize that this person, this archaeologist who's been helped, this is a major spoiler. Skip ahead if you don't want to hear it. But then you realize this archaeologist person who's been helping you this whole time is actually this Majorate being who is basically tricked you into opening up the vault so that it can get its hands on this Elder Horn. It's meant to like break this cycle for the rituals the Majorate have to do. It's okay. So it's the Elder Horn. So it's this artifact that's definitely has something to do with the Elder Gods, right? These are these, you got your Guthix, Zamorak, Saradomin. Then you have a step above them, these gods called the Elder Gods. And there's a whole bunch of them. And we're just now kind of seeing relics. So we have the horn, which is this artifact from them. And then the stone of Joss or the egg of Joss. I can't remember what it is, but that's something else that we found during the Guardians of the Rift quest. So we're starting to see that a little bit. That's something that RuneScape 3 has dived into. But then you have to do this fight with the Majorate. And this new Majorate that kind of tricked you, his name is Siliski. And I know in RuneScape 3, this guy's badass. Like there's a lot of things going on there with that character. And you're having a fight in. Siliski is this Majorate who was able to gear up the Barrows brothers before they were ghosts. So they were like these normal warriors. They were actually these Saradomin warriors. And so Siliski was this Zerosian Majorate. So the big battle so back in the Third Age, one of the biggest conflicts was between Zeros and Zamorak. Zamorak who betrayed Zeros. And so Siliski is this like Zerosian follower. He's all there for Zeros, trying to help him out, I guess. And ends up giving these Barrow brothers, these Saradomin followers. And he was like, listen, I will give you the best gear there is. I'll give you some really strong weapons and armors to fight in this war that you have to fight. In return, when you guys are worthy enough, you have to be my servants forever. Terrible trade. What an awful trade. Like the Barrows brothers, the best case scenario is they become like these wraiths that have to serve Siliski. The worst case scenario, they just die in the war. Maybe that's the best case scenario. I don't know. So they go and they have this war with the Saradomin troops that they're a part of. And I think it's against Zamorak. I have to double check that later. Save it for the lore episode. And they're having this like Mauritania. It's called the Mauritania campaign. This giant battle that's happening in Mauritania. Anyways, the Barrows brothers eventually die and they get buried. And then Siliski's like, yeah, I'm just going to bring you back to life because now you have to serve me and Zeros for the rest of eternity. So that's what happened. That's why Barrows are like these weird wraiths or whatever you want to call them, these weird ghouls that you have to fight. So that's the lore of who Siliski is. But what's awesome is now you have to fight Siliski and he summons the Barrows brothers to fight. So now you have to fight the Barrows brothers. And then not only that, there are these 4 characters that you encounter throughout the quest. He summons Barrow's wraith-looking fuckers of these characters. And I gotta fight them, and they're all pink-looking. And then it leaves you on a huge cliffhanger. Massive cliffhanger for this quest. Which made me think, holy shit, are we gonna see an expansion to the Barrows with these 4 new characters that Slisky just summoned? Oh, I could see it. Great quest. If you haven't done the quest yet, highly recommend you not using a guide, or at least use it as little as possible, because I had so much fun being able to explore all of this, and each section was so incredibly different and fun, and there's so many innovative ideas, and it had me, they did such a good job. It had me really thinking that I'm excited to see what comes next. All right, we have to talk about what we actually got with Desert Treasure 2, but I loved it. Guys, Colin, what did you think of the quest? I got some feedback earlier that we're going to talk about, but let's take not take a break, but let's play that, the music, the death music. Let's jump into the actual news, everything we got with Desert Treasure 2, because we got some fun, unique rewards along with these 4 new bosses that we can farm, and they've got a fun things, and there's, as usual, there's some controversy to talk about. It wouldn't be a big release if there wasn't some controversy. We're also going to bring on some others to talk about their thoughts with these new quests. These are gamers, certified gamers. All right, guys, I have to level with you a little bit. My recording studio, I moved offices, and it's this big empty room. And it's really echoey. You probably have heard that in past recordings. I'm sitting underneath a moving blanket right now to help make the sound a little bit better. And guys, it's friggin' hot in here. This kind of sucks. Anyways, I'm not here just to complain. We're here to take a look at the Desert Treasure 2 dev blog. All right, so we went through the quest earlier, guys. This is the most ambitious quest that they've done to date. It's really, really fun, and it ended on a cliffhanger, as I mentioned. So Desert Treasure 3 coming out soon, maybe? Completing the quest itself unlocks a few cool rewards. I don't know if we ever talked about it, but there used to be prayers that were going to come out with this quest. They got scrapped, mainly because it just couldn't find a spot where everyone was happy. It was either completely broken and changed the meta too much, or it was doing nothing. It was nothing new, nothing fun, nothing exciting. Didn't really warrant a new prayer book. So they actually got scrapped. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of sad about that. It just feels like we're just, I don't know, you complete the quest for the bosses. That's kind of, I don't know, we've seen that done before. It's exciting when you complete a quest and you get access to some reward right away, right? Barrow's gloves from Recipe for Disaster, iconic, and it's awesome that you get access to equipment that is now not best in slot anymore, but still second best, and it's best for all attack styles. It makes doing that quest so worth it. So we don't get the prayer book, which kind of sucks. I was really looking forward to it, and I actually liked some of the prayers that they were pitching, but I'm an idiot, so who knows? They were probably broken. That's what everyone was saying, so let's go with it. But, Desert Treasure 1 unlocked access to ancient magics. It felt fitting for Desert Treasure 2 to give you the prayers. But, those are gone. But we did get one reward coming from the quest. It's called the Ring of Shadows. It's an interesting item, I guess. It's a ring, and it gives you bonuses in all attack styles. Now, they're not great. It's not replacing your Berserker ring or your Ranger's ring or any of that sort of stuff. It's a hybrid ring, and I guess it could work as a replacement, but what's kind of nice about it is killing the bosses has a chance to drop an item that unlocks a teleport to each of the bosses. So that's where the ring comes in handy. You're going to be able to unlock 4 different teleports on it so that you can teleport straight to the boss. With some of the 4 big items that are coming from this quest are these 4 new rings. It's called the Ultor, Magus, Bellator, and Venator rings. And these are basically massive upgrades to the current DK rings that we have, right? The Berserker, Warrior, Archers, and Seers ring. And these are pretty decent buffs. So the Ultra Ring, you can't imbue any of these rings, by the way, so you're kind of stuck with the stats that you're given. But the Ultra Ring, which is basically the upgraded Berserker Ring, has 12 strength. That's an additional 4 over the imbued Berserker Ring. Bellator Ring, which gives you slash bonus, kind of like the Warriors Ring, but this is actually useful because you get 6 melee strength, which makes it just a little less than the Berserker Ring. Now, of course, your first thought might be, well, shit, does this not just devalue the DK rings? Aren't those just going to drop in price? I mean, they probably are, but RuneScape has this thing they do where every item in this game has some sort of purpose. And it's a common theme to see you needing to break down previous items to upgrade the next. So that's what you're doing here. To make the rings, you'll need to get the Vestige, which is this item that drops from each of the bosses. And you'll need to get these tradable chromium bars. It's like this type of metal that you're going to need to use to create this new ring. And then you'll need to break down one of your DK rings in order to get a icon from it to create this new ring. So pretty cool. They're pretty much, they're straight upgrades, which, you know, those are easy rewards. I can't really complain about them. Everyone's going to want it. I've noticed that we start seeing, like, when a new boss comes out and they need new rewards, they try to get creative with like the prayers or with the weapons and just whatever it is. I don't know why, but they just can't seem to hit the mark when it comes to having unique items. Remember when Tumikin's Heka, the Heka of Tumikin, I forget what it's called, but from Tombstone Masket, it was this wand that you would do two fast attacks and then one really slow attack that would do extra damage. And it got swapped for a staff that just does lots of damage. The Shadow is dope, by the way. It's really cool, but still, it was kind of cool to have a unique item, right? Something that worked in a different way. Anyways, you don't really see that too much now, you know? Like, we saw when Next came out, they just did Torva, which is just like a straight upgrade to Bandos. We had Missouri from Toa as well, which is just a straight upgrade from Armadil. Originally, they were going to have it low life, where you did more damage the lower life you had, but they ended up scrapping that too. So I think Jagex struggles coming up with unique items sometimes that they're unique in the way they work, but they're still a viable option to use in whatever content you're doing. So anyways, these are just flat upgrades. Can't complain. You'll do more damage with them. The second set of rewards is the Virtus Robes. So these basically act as this stepping stone between Ahrim's and Ancestral. Ahrim's is just, it's okay, I guess. But I think the problem with it is that it's just straight up accuracy, right? You don't get any mage damage. You don't get any bonuses to your magic damage when you're wearing them. Whereas when you have your Ancestral, that is, you know, they have a magic % damage increase. But the jump between Ahrim's and Ancestral is huge. It's 2 mil, 4 mil for the Ahrim set versus like 200, 300 mil for your Ancestral. They're really good. So Virtus Robes acts as this like stepping stone between Ahrim's and Ancestral. So, but this kind of has an added bonus, which is kind of cool. It'll be nice to figure out what niche this sits in. But so Ancestral has a 2% magic damage bonus increase. So when you have the full set, it's 6%. So 2% for Ancestral. Virtus Robes has 1%. So it's half as good. So having the full set will increase your magic damage by 3%. But this added effect is kind of cool. If you are using ancient magics, that percentage goes up to 4%. So for a total of 12%. So if there's content where you're using ancient magics, Virtus Robes is going to be much stronger than Ancestral for when you're casting magic ancients. So I'm trying to think, like, when would you want to bring Virtus over Ancestral? I think maybe Theater of Blood, the Maiden. I could see that being useful when you're barraging the clumps of Nylos. I'm sure there's a few other instances, like if you're just straight up ice barraging monkeys to get some experience, you'll definitely want to bring these as well if you have the money for them. So not bad. They're pretty cool, and they look okay. They look decent enough. The next item. Okay, so I was talking earlier about how Jagex doesn't really come out with like unique items that work different than what we already have. This next item, the Soul Reaper Axe, kind of contradicts exactly what I was saying, because this does use some mechanics that we haven't seen before. It's really cool. So the Soul Reaper Axe is a two-handed weapon. And okay, there's a lot going on here. Okay, so when you attack with your Soul Reaper Axe, you'll take 8 damage. So it hurts you every time you hit. You'll take 8 damage, but you get 1 mighty stack. We just call it stack of might. This might sound better. So whenever you have a stack of might, you'll get an increase of 6% strength level. And this stacks up to 5 times. So basically, you will lose 40 hit points, but you'll have a 30% strength boost when you're fully stacked. You'll stop taking damage once you've maxed your stacks out. And then what's really cool is once you can now use your special attack, and it will use whatever stacks you have. And the more stacks you have, the more damage the special attack will do. So the special attack will consume all your stacks, but it'll buff your accuracy by 6% and your strength by 6% per stack. And you'll get healed by 8 hit points per stack. So you'll get all your hits back. You'll get all your hit points back. It's kind of an interesting weapon. The idea is like you want to use the axe to, in I guess, longer fights when you can build up your 5 stacks of might, and then you can just keep slapping them with it. And I think the idea is you want to use your special attack as close to your last hit as possible, because it does much more damage. So if you can use it to like KO them, that might be like a good way of doing it. It seems really cool, and I'm really excited to get to a point where I can try it out and see where it lands. I love the idea that you have a special attack that doesn't charge over time. Instead, you just fill up your special energy bar by doing hits. And as soon as you do 1 hit, you could instantly expend it if you want. I love this idea, and I hope we see more items like this, because these are fun. This is where you can find some cool, I don't know, they just find their place. Like it's such a cool idea, and these type of items takes the community some time to figure out where it's going to land. And lastly, the Ancient Scepter. This is an item that we got from Muspa. Well, we can now attach these items to it that will give it increased bonuses. So each of the bosses can drop a shard, and it can be a blood, ice, shadow, or smoke shard. So each boss has a chance at dropping a sigil. So it's blood, ice, shadow, or smoke sigils. And when you use this on the staff, they will add a buff to that magic style. So if you use the blood sigil, it will give your blood magic will now be able to overheal you by 10%. I've been doing a bit of Tob lately, and I can see this being quite handy there. The ice sigil will increase your ice magic accuracy by 10% on unfrozen targets. Shadow sigil will drain strength and defense as well as the target's attack level. And smoke sigil will reduce healing received by 20% for 10 cycles on hit if the target is poisoned. I can see these being some really, really great PvP tools to bring out. I can see teams using them to really lower somebody's stats or prevent somebody from being able to heal. That's brutal, but a lot of these sound like perfect for PKing. I don't know if you're going to want to be swapping your sigils in the middle of battle, or if you're just going to want to go in a team where each person has one. And the last of the rewards. This one was cool. This kind of came out of left field a little bit in a real good way. When you're killing these bosses, you can get an item called the Awakener's Orb. Every boss can drop one of these, and it is a tradable item. And the Awakener's Orb is basically a key that allows you to attempt the hard mode version of any of the bosses one time. So for every time you attempt to kill it, you must use one of the orbs. The weird part is doing the hard mode versions isn't actually a viable method for grinding out some of the uniques. It's just not really worth it, especially because the orbs cost money. But what the hard mode version of these bosses do, once you've defeated all 4 hard mode versions of the boss, you will get a Blood Torva kit, which you can use to recolor your Torva gear, and it looks really badass. It's like this armor, and it's black and red, and it just looks pretty cool. And there you go. There's all the rewards from the quest. What's nice about the Awakener's Orbs is they've just been going up in price since the quest came out. So on day 1, they were selling for, I know someone who sold one for like 900K. Now they're almost 4 mil. It's funny, it's not often an item comes out on release and it goes up in price like that. So overall though, the update was such a great update. The 4 bosses are so well done. All the fights are so unique and different. And I think I mentioned it earlier, but like I've been doing the bosses, and one of the bosses, Duke, the way you kill it is you kind of flinch, like you attack and then you move over a tile and then you wait a second and then you go back and do it again. And honestly, it's a pretty easy fight. It's not too hard. It's not very engaging at all. At first, I really didn't like the fight. I was like, this kind of sucks. Like, it's not engaging enough to make it fun, but also like not AFK enough that I can like go do something else on the side. Like, you kind of have to pay attention, but it's in this like weird middle ground. And then as I've been doing some of the other bosses, I really realized that every boss kind of has their own vibe going for it. Duke I ended up spending the most time with Duke. So I'm still digging into the other 4 more. I'm still digging into the other 4 bosses. But like, I actually do really like the Duke fight now. I can really appreciate it because it's out of the 4 bosses, that's the boss you want to do if you want to chill. If you want to watch YouTube on the side, listen to a podcast, or you want to chat on voice chat and not worry about like fucking up and dying, Duke is it's awesome. So I've been hanging out in voice chat, just chatting with people, and then I end up I'm like, what should I do? I'm just gonna go to Duke because I don't need to focus too hard, and I can still chat with people. I can watch someone stream, whatever it is. And I was like, you know what? Duke is perfect for this. I've had a few reports have told me that Duke is an awesome mobile boss. I haven't tried it yet, but overall, this is an awesome quest. I wish I took the day off. But what did you guys think of the quest boss? Let me know. Send me a message. Call in if you'd like as well. I love to hear different opinions on. Yeah, great quest overall. The music, by the way, amazing. A little bit more subtle. Still really good, but they're more of like a lot of ambient soundtracks. A lot of music tracks are much more like sinister in tone. Like they weren't really, it's not music beds that you would listen to like you do with some other songs, but it definitely adds to the environments. Highly recommended. And guys, one thing I forgot to mention as well is that the Blood Torva kit came out so you can recolor Torva. A lot of people didn't like Torva, myself included. And they actually went back and redesigned Torva. It looks pretty much the same, but they made some slight changes. And honestly, I really like it. Some people hate it. It's a little split, but overall, I think it's really cool. But as I mentioned, this would not be a usual release if we didn't have some people bitching and complaining or things not working properly, right? So the few items to go over. Let's talk about the fun one first. So the first one was Eliop 14. Oh, I'm not pronouncing that properly. Anywho, he made a video of the Soul Reaper axe. He was like the first person to get his hands on it, and Jagex made a mistake. They did not make the special attack. Like they coded it wrong. They did something happened. So what happened on release was you were able to stack up the stacks of might, the mighty stacks, and then when you use them for the special attack, you were able to hit like over 100 damage. You were hitting hundreds with it. In this same video, I'll make a link to the video in the description. You can check it out, but you can watch it. It's been since fixed, but he even went into PvP and you were able to one-hit people with it. It was completely broken. I'm not really sure how that mistake happened. Somebody messed up the values, but hey, it is what it is. So that was the first kind of mistake from Jagex's end. I shouldn't say the first mistake, because the second one isn't really a mistake. It's more around the way they balanced the items. Specifically the rings, the rings from Desert Treasure 2. So I don't know if this was catered to Iron Men. Maybe it is. It seems like it might have been that they did this way to help Iron Men. But some people weren't super happy with it. So the way rolling a ring works, it's a bit different than usual. Normally with an item, you just kill the boss, and you have a chance at getting the item. If you roll the item, it's yours. These rings work a little bit differently though. When you roll the ring, you don't get it the first time. You need to roll the ring 3 times to get it. But it's hidden. Like, you don't know when you roll it. That's the hard part. So to get the ring, it is 1 out of 240. But the first 2 times that you're supposed to get the ring, you don't actually get it. You just get some common loot instead. The third time you roll it, that's when you get the ring. So the reason they did this is to kind of, I guess the idea was that it would average out more accurately to what the drop rate was. There's less chance at you being spooned and getting the drop really early. And there's also less chance that you're going to go super dry and not get the drop until like 3,000 kill counts. It can still happen, but it's less likely. So it's a way to make the ring drop more, like commonly drop around the 1 out of 720 drop rate that it has. Not a lot of people liked it. They say there's a sunken cost fallacy that could be put in. You know, if you've been doing one of the bosses, you're less likely to jump to a new boss because you're like, oh, I've done 500 kills with this boss. I might be really close to getting the ring, so I may as well just stay here until I get it. So I get that. The problem is, like, people wouldn't even know. Like, honestly, I don't think we should know the drop rates all the time. Jagex kind of spoils us and tells us when the drops should be coming. You know, 1 out of 720. That's what they tell us. You got to roll it. Oh, sorry, 1 out of 240. We got to roll it 3 times. That's just something that we would not have known, but because Jagex told us, like, now we do know. But it caused people to kind of complain, the sunken cost fallacy thing, and you could still go dry. You could still get lucky. It's just less. It'll just happen less often. People say this is we're speculating that maybe they did this for Iron Men because it sucks as an Iron Man to go really dry on an item that you need. A main can just buy it, so less big of a deal. But one thing they did say is that this is something that they are experimenting with, just to kind of see what they can do with drops. Like, does this work out well? Is this something that they can keep doing? One of the issues that I've had, that's something I've talked about before. I hate this theme that we've seen with a lot of, especially like I don't know why, it's always solo bosses, it seems, but drop rates are disgusting. Are so I actually find them just toxic and unhealthy on a lot of content. You know, there's this like precedent where drops should be locked behind this 1 in 1,000 drop rate, 1 in 1,000. And it just seems so strange to me to have this expectation to kill a boss 1,000 times before you get the item unless you get lucky. That's so many kills. That is like That's a lot of kills. 1,000 times. I only say 1,000 because I'm thinking of like some of the past bosses we've seen with it's like Vorkath, or if it's a Hydra, or maybe like the Lizardman Shaman with the Dragon Warhammer being 1 in 5,000. Like the expectations that you should kill something 5,000 times to get the item that you're going for, just that's kind of, that seems fucked to me. That just seems really fucked. And that's something we've only seen, I guess, like in the past few years, really. Like when you look at the like Bandos, it's like what, about 1 in 127 for any Bandos item. Let's look at the Virtus robes. So there's 3 of them, and the positive part is every boss drops it, so you're always, it's like a collective kill count you can look at. But for a single Virtus piece, it is 1 in 2,160. Like that's so fucked. That's so high to have this, like, you should kill each of the bosses 500 times before you get one of the specific pieces. Now there are 3 pieces. So what does it actually equal out to? It is 1 in 720. So basically all the items on the drop table are 1 in 720, which is like still a fair bit, but I don't know. It's just like this weird trend that we see for a lot of content where it's like drops are 1 in 1,000, 1 in 800. Like that's a lot to tell somebody that you should expect to kill this boss 800 times to get that item. It's just like, that seems pretty rough. I don't know. Is that just me though? Is it because I'm getting older? I'm a main, so it's not as big of a deal, but like, that just seems kind of toxic to be like, to expect your player base to spend that much time killing something. And I mean, we'll do it because it's fun, and yeah, so we'll do it. But for Jagex to come and be like, no, this is what we expect you to do, I don't know. Feels a bit greasy. Another complaint was people didn't like that the drop tables are not great outside of the uniques. You're not going to make a whole lot of money unless you get lucky and you land on some of the big value drops. This was supposed to be like a balance of like God Wars drop tables. People, for some reason, people love God Wars drop tables. I don't really get it. I mean, I do understand what it is. And when I say the God Wars drop table, basically you don't make any money unless you get a unique item, but the unique items aren't crazy rare. You spend an hour there, you have some chance at getting one. But then you look at something like Vorkath, which it's the opposite. You're going to make a shit ton of money every single kill, but all the uniques are incredibly rare to get. So people have been asking for a more God Wars style table where it's less consistent money, but the big drops could be a little bit easier to get maybe, and they're worth a fair bit more. And so we got this like weird blend where it's like kind of God Wars table and it's kind of consistent money too. It's pretty good though. Like there are some pretty decent drops. Like I mentioned the Awakener's orbs. That's worth, they're about almost 4 mil right now. You can get 1 mil in Dragon Plate Legs. You get a couple 100K and for a few other drops. So I actually really do like the drop tables. They're pretty cool. And that's it, guys. That is all the complaints that there really were. I mean, there was some like high level talk this past week. No Monkey made a video complaining about PVM content not being hard enough and complained that the Desert Treasure 2 hard mode versions weren't as hard as he would want. We can talk about that in another day because I think it's been fun to watch how this game has evolved and how the culture of the game has changed over the years. And you have all these like sub communities within the RuneScape community, and they're all kind of doing their own thing. Like you have these high level PVM community where they're begging for Inferno style content where it's like just incredibly insanely hard. That's a bit of a tangent. We'll get into that later. That's everything from me. But so I wanted to hear from some other people about what they thought about the content. All right. So I am here with Nary Hipples. I love the name, by the way.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
So Nary, how would you describe yourself? If you had to introduce yourself as a RuneScape player, what's the highlights? What's the notes? What's on the resume, I should say?
Whoa. I'd like to think I'm good at PVM, but at the same time, I'm probably a little bit of an average gamer with probably just a little bit too much time on my hands, to be honest.
Not to get into a tangent right off the bat, but like it's funny to see how the PVM community has grown over the years, where when you get to the end game stuff and the really high level PVM, doing hard modes and stuff, it almost seems like it's broken up into all these different categories. You have the people who are running speed running infernos and stuff, and then you just have the people below who are just maybe just tackling regular raids, where years ago that used to be the highest level of PVM, was just running raids.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's so many sort of different niches out there, and I think one of the good things that the Jagex group are actually sort of doing, and the mod team are actually doing, is creating so many different niche areas that's really accessible for the player base. So, for example, like up till now, it kind of feels like the highest you could go with PVM sort of high level community sort of things to do was basically just doing Inferno speed runs. And I think they're down at something like 42 minutes, maybe even close to 40 minutes nowadays. But now with the the advent of the Awaken bosses, and probably upcoming with the actual Grandmaster achievement diaries as well, I'm excited to see what they're going to actually release for that. Are people going to have to do like perfect Awaken Leviathan? Are they going to have to do like multiple kills one after the other? Something like the what's the not the Tazkel trials. What's the one in the Tazarket challenges? Tazarket challenges, I think it is. Yeah, Tazarket challenges. Yeah. So how you're having to do like six Jads at once, like straight after one after the other. So I'll be interested to see if they do things like that.
Yeah, that's let me just ask you right off the bat. I know we already kind of went off on a tangent. What are your thoughts on that 6 Jad challenge? Because to me, it feels very gimmicky. It's not something I'm super interested in, but I know some people love it. They're like, this is great.
I think I've tried some of those challenges. I've not managed to get all the way through them because I'm looking to create a bit of a sort of a series going through. So I've gone up to about, I think, 4 Jads so far, which was interesting. But really, it's just a case of, it's a bit of a clicking simulator, but at the same time, they're so unforgiving. You miss one of those prays and you're getting hit for like, I don't know, what's like the max hit, probably like 100 or something from one of those Jads. So they're good, but they're very unforgiving, especially if there's a little bit of server lag or something, or lag on your end.
Oh yeah,
it's definitely
the biggest enemy of all. Yeah,
absolutely. I like to think it's not a skill issue for some of my things, but it's 100% lag when everything goes wrong.
I want to bring this to Desert Treasure 2, the big release that we're talking about today, and I want to back up before the content was actually released and bring us back to the Winter Summit. And I'm not sure if you were able to sit down and watch it live, but do you remember what your thoughts were when they said Desert Treasure 2, The Fallen Empire is going to be one of the biggest quests and one of the biggest releases coming out this year? Do you remember your first impressions or your first thoughts?
Honestly, really excited. Desert Treasure, the first one was honestly, it's such an iconic quest, and it's definitely my favorite quest. It's really clunky when you think of it like nowadays compared to like the sort of quests that they do in sort of modern times with like with Dragon Slayer 2 and whatnot. But honestly, really excited. Really, really excited. It's such an iconic storyline for RuneScape as well.
It feels like it's one of the deepest storylines too. If you want to get
absolutely,
go hard with the lore. It's some of the more intense story that's being told. Do you think Desert Treasure 1 is the most iconic quest if we're looking at some of the more classic stories?
For me personally, definitely the most iconic quest. I think Dragon Slayer, like the original one, is definitely up there. But for Desert Treasure, it's the first time when you go into like Castle Wars, for example, and you got some guy there with like 94 mage just ice barraging you, and it's like, what is that? I remember looking on like the Rune Tippet website like years and years and years ago, and just seeing this like clump of like 3x3 people in Castle Wars just getting ice barraged for like 30s non-stop, and I was like, that's awesome. I want that.
It felt so like such an overpowered group of spells. Just the fact that it was like an AoE where you could hit a 3x3 square. And I remember as a kid thinking, these are the big boy magic spells. Like I need to get my hand on these. And then you get the invisible, what is it? The ghost, is it the ghostly robes? Is that what they're called?
Yeah. Ghostly robes. Yeah.
Those are pretty cool.
You get those from one of these. I think it's a side quest, isn't it?
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah,
definitely was. You seeing those like original like PK videos where he's wearing those ghostly robes and stuff. So Yeah, those are definitely iconic. Definitely always used for pures, aren't they, nowadays?
Yeah, totally. So yeah, lots of hype built up on that release, but we saw kind of when they were going through when it comes to the rewards that were going to come out, we saw them kind of going back and forth, and they were pitching some ideas, and they kind of had this trouble when it came to the prayers, where they brought out a couple different revisions and then ultimately decided to scrap the prayers entirely. How did you feel about when they were pitching the prayers and then when they ultimately decided to just remove them fully?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting one. So I think the teams probably sat down in the background and thought, this could go one of two ways. Either the bosses get released and the prayers don't go through, so we've got to make an encounter that's got to be doable. We're putting a lot of effort into this, so at the same time they've got to then release content that's going to be applicable for those prayers. So say for example, chip damage was one of the big ones, that was like, oh, we don't want any deflect type prayers. Well, you've got chip damage in every single one of the encounters, I think probably outside of the Whisperer, I think it is. So that would have been there anyway. And I think one of the challenges is that there's probably too many chefs sometimes, that everybody wants these prayers to work everywhere. And then in the end, they just became just a bit of a mishmash of pretty much everything that's already happened before. And that they're pretty much just then just got everywhere, as opposed to having these like niche use cases. So yeah, personally, I think if they toned down a little bit on that first iteration, that was where I was probably really happy with those. The second iteration, I wasn't really feeling it, to be honest.
Yeah, it got a little messy. I know I almost got lost. I'm not really sure where these are going. And I was kind of disappointed when they decided to scrap it, but I understand their reasonings. They just couldn't find they couldn't make this prayer book be as iconic as the ancient spell book was. And I know for me, like I was a little disappointed because I felt like Desert Treasure 2, if it could come out with a new prayer book, that would kind of match the hype of like Desert Treasure 1 when you complete that and get the new spell book. But
yeah, absolutely. I think it's quite challenging as well, though, because I think one of the areas that they were really keen to do with a little bit of, I don't want to say marketing, but how they were selling it to players is that these are not, ancient curses. And because those were just so strong back in pre-EOC, like pretty much if you wanted to do any sort of PvEv encounter or any PvP encounter, you pretty much needed to have these, because your opponent would just have, if you're PvPing, for example, would just have too much of an advantage over you. Whereas like I somewhat actually like that type of mechanic where it sort of ramps up over time. So for example, like if you're on a sort of a static boss, you hit and it just non-stop as opposed to target switching, they're allowed to be really useful in that situation. Whereas if you're target switching between multiple NPCs, so let's say for example you're fighting Carefree where you're swapping between that and the Scarabs, it's like it takes a while for those prayers to ramp up, so they're probably not as useful in that room, for example. But obviously I would want them nowhere near as powerful as they were before, because they were just way too strong. So yeah.
It is kind of cool. I know we're getting to an area where there's like all these different niche builds for different bosses, but it is kind of nice when you have this arsenal of whatever offensive capabilities, and every now and then one finds its use for this boss more so than other bosses.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having one item and one set of gear, equipment, prayers, spells, whatever, just to do that one encounter is somewhat a little bit boring in my eyes, because it really sort of like creates a really sort of small sort of strategy and design space for people to like come up with fancy new ideas. So for example, I mean, pretty much before it was like you would only do range at the Inferno, when the Shadow of Tumican got released, you can actually do Magic Inferno nowadays, which was actually pretty cool. It's nowhere near as good as a T-bow, but it still gives you that option if you don't have a T-bow, but you also have a bow for like, well, actually, you could potentially choose to use a magic only run and use a shadow instead. So I do like it when these varying different gear sets that you can actually use.
It is cool. It's almost like the content is evolving over time, but no one's touching it. Like the J mods aren't doing anything to the content. It's just things are being released that give you a different way to tackle that
absolutely
content. Really cool stuff. So then we fast forward. Desert Treasure 2 was finally released. What were your first impressions when it comes to, I guess, let's start with the quest itself.
Admittedly, on this one, it was a little bit of a race to get to the end. So I was Spacebar Warrior in this one, like really hard. But it's a really, really cool story for what it was. I think it took me something like maybe 6 hours to complete, thereabouts. There was so many different interesting sort of areas to explore. NPCs, that you would interact with. Like, I think I've seen some of the streamers that didn't actually happen to me, but I saw some of the streamers where they were like getting approached by the sandwich lady, and then he just like turns into that like demi boss NPC, and he like starts teleblocking you, and you're just trying to like, oh my god, I'm not gonna get for this, so he's just running away as quick as possible.
I had that happen to me, and I was
really
floored. I was like, this is sick. So yeah, same thing. I wasn't prepared at all. And when it turned into the mysterious stranger or whatever his name is,
2.0.
Yeah, I was like, this is sick. Good job.
Yeah, you're going into it. You're expecting, there's going to be 4 bosses, and you're like, that's going to be fine. Or they're going to be in like this location. I'm spending a lot of time here, so I'm going to face a boss. And then all of a sudden, this like NPC just teleblocks you, like, it's like a PvP encounter now.
Yeah. So, the fact that it teleblocks you, and you're, oh man, yeah, that's awesome. I was so excited to see that. And so you mentioned you're kind of racing through to get it done. Is this like a YouTuber thing where you're trying to run through it so that you can release a video before other people?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when sort of content first comes out, there is 100% a race to get the videos out there as soon as possible. There's obviously the people that are watching streams, say for bossing encounters and whatnot, they'll be looking at what some of the streamers are doing, and then they'll basically pick up information from there. Whereas like when people are maybe like working throughout the day, they'll get back from work, load up, how do I kill this boss? And they'll be like, someone's released the guide already. It's only got 100 views, but that's the only guide. That's the one that I'm clicking on. So just to give me a little bit of insight into what that fight's going to look like. It may not be the best guide, but it's at least a little bit of a sort of a starter for 10, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, it's 100% a race.
Oh man. How does that feel? Is it stressful? Do you feel like you're able to enjoy the content to its like fullest?
Yeah, no, I think when you're stuck in the sort of a long quest like Desert Treasure 2, it did get a little bit stressful because I think I was stuck in the shadow area for so long. And then I saw, like, at the time when I was in there, I think I had maybe 2 bosses left. And at that time, I think Wooks had already pretty much completed all 4. And it basically is a case of, I want to get to those bosses so I can at least start thinking of like, how are these fights going to look, sort of as a strategy. It may not be perfect, but how I can at least get a video out there just as a quick and dirty guide, just to show people what it's like.
Yeah, it's got to be tough. I don't know if it's the same. I don't know if the other podcasters are racing to get out Desert Treasure 2 content, but I decided to take my time with it, and it felt a little bit nicer to be able to do that. Less stress involved.
It gives you a bit of a time to like, saturate everything and just like soak up all of the information that's out there as well. So I think there's loads of different ways to do it. You can either get something out, that's just quick and just chatting through everything, or, you can take time and look at, this is like an interesting bit of information here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it's got to be hard on YouTube. Like the competition's got to be fierce, especially nowadays where there's so many content creators and just, yeah. Is that a tough challenge when you're
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the big things on YouTube is really finding for me at least, I mean, I've only got a small channel. I think it's only maybe like 3,000 subscribers or so, but it's finding a bit of a niche. So I'll take I'll name drop here then, but I'll take King Condor for example. Some of his guides are really, really quick, basically quick and dirty guides just based to explain how to do stuff. But he does it in a way that really resonates with the viewer base. He does it in the gear, for example, that probably a lot of that viewer base actually has as well. So that really works for them. You'll have guides which will be released by maybe an Articon or a No Monkey, for example, where they essentially be some really, really in depth on some game mechanics, which maybe, for example, a high level player will be able to understand and like, oh yeah, I understand what you're talking about. Here you do this, and this. Oh, it's simple. Whereas like someone that's maybe like medium to high doesn't truly understand. So it's a case of just finding out, where does your sort of video fit in? Because for me personally, I hate to recreate content that people have already done. It's really a case of, has someone actually created something, and then could I add to that? Is there some bit of information that maybe they've missed that I could potentially make a video on? So I think that's where it's competition, but really only if you make it competitive. If you're just saying you're going to hit something that the other person's actually also hitting.
Yeah, and it's true. The variety when it comes to like actual types of content is. It's like something for everyone. It's kind of beautiful. I don't think other MMORPGs have that sort of thing going for them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a mixed bag of people when it comes to the RuneScape player base. So there's definitely a content creator out there for really that resonates with whoever's actually watching that content, I think.
Yeah, that's really cool. All right, so with the quest being released, we have this awesome story that's being told, but then, of course, with it, something that everyone's really hyped about are these 4 farmable bosses that came afterwards. So there's 4 bosses. What are your thoughts? These are 4 soloable bosses that come from the quest. I know it's a very broad question, but what do you think?
I was going into it thinking. Sorry, I'll step back. Before this, I was thinking that I did not want solo-only bosses. I actually wanted these to be probably somewhat group encounters, maybe potentially not as much as like a raid. You would need 5 people to kill it, and it's a bit of a pain just setting up for a single boss. But potentially something you could do with like a friend. But the challenge with that is because I think how they wanted to sort of frame and position these bosses is that, especially with the Awakened bosses, I'll say this in particular, is that, say, for example, if you needed to find a partner for an Awakened boss, how would you group up with someone or know that someone is like, competent or really good in that encounter to be able to help you sort of kill that boss? So I think where they are, knowing what they are now, I'm definitely happy with the fact that they made these as solo-only encounters as opposed to sort of group encounters, especially as well as the just the single bosses in quite different areas.
Yeah, that's good. I tend to enjoy group content way more than solo content. I get burnt out easily doing solo content, but I can totally see what you're saying, and I've come around and really enjoy these bosses. So
yeah, it's this is one of the things. It's like harkening back to what we said before. Is a case of the creating lots of different niche content for different people. So, for example, like with TOA, the previously released, it's highly accessible raid encounter for quite a lot of people. Then you've got high level group encounter in like TOB, and now it's a case of previously we had the Inferno, which was really high level encounter, and whereas now you've also got these Awakened bosses. So I like what they're doing is that they're creating lots of different pieces of content of varying difficulties. And of varying different group sizes as well.
Yeah, I really think that this game is like something special where it has so much to offer to so many different types of people. And if you're someone like me, I guess I don't know if I would call myself a generalist, but I like tons of different types of content, and there's always stuff to do. Whether I feel like skilling, there's like, anyways, I have an endless list of little activities and grinds I can work towards if I don't feel like PVMing. I think that's a trap a lot of MMOs fall into. I don't play other MMOs anymore, but I do pay a lot of attention to them just because I'm always interested, and I grew up playing a lot of different MMORPGs, but a lot of them fall into this, being centered around just PVMing. Which is fine.
It's like a linear progression route, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess. Whereas RuneScape or old school RuneScape is just so vast. You never really I'm interested to see like a completionist cape, what that's actually going to look like, for example.
Because there's so.
I think we probably will get one, but I'm interested to see how they'll include the collection log stuff, if they will include that. I think the basic ones are set, obviously, like achievement diaries, combat achievements, quest cape, that type of thing is fairly clear that they'll include those. But in terms of the other pieces of content, it's how much do they include in that? So
it's interesting. I'm sure whatever they settle on, people won't be too happy.
Definitely.
Of the 4 bosses, do you have one that you love? Like, what would you have a favorite and a least favorite?
I think I'd probably say the Whisperer actually is probably one of my favorite ones.
Cool.
It's such a sort of I don't want to say chill encounter. It's pretty chill encounter compared to the rest of them.
Okay.
So for like so Whisper, obviously you don't really take any damage. You can just go in there with loads of prayer potions. You can stay there for quite a long time. Whereas some of the other bosses, you're eventually probably going to run out of supplies, and you probably need to obviously bank and everything. But Whisper is probably definitely my favorite, I think.
Do you have a least favorite of the 4?
If you asked me about 2 days ago, I probably would have said Leviathan.
Oh, really? How come?
We died a lot there.
Yeah,
we died a lot there.
And so, what's changed since then?
Oh well, finally managed to actually kill the Awakened Leviathan,
Okay.
so that has made me very, very, very happy.
Yeah, that seems like a really cool fight. I'm looking forward to dive deeper into Leviathan itself. I don't know, something about it looks really, really cool.
It's a really challenging fight. You'll basically go through the first 70-80% or whatever it is, just like sort of cruising at a steady pace, and then you just get to that final 20%. You're like, there's that the gif where the guy's like sweating and screen shaking and everything. That's pretty much like how I was for the entire every single attempt that I was doing. So it's really, really, really intense.
That's amazing. And yeah, they did something cool with these solo bosses, and we've seen it more. It's more of a common thing these days when it comes to PVM, like new PVM releases. They're adding these hard mode versions, and these ones you mentioned the Awoken versions, where they're just tuned up a little bit more. You got to get these orbs that come as a drop, and I think right now they're selling for like 2.5 mil. Although a week or so ago they were at like almost 4 mil, which was interesting. What are your thoughts about this whole system?
I love it. I think I'd be interested to see how the economics have worked of this. So, for example, you've got the players that are just farming these, that farming the normal bosses. They're getting these orbs and they're selling them to the players that are then obviously in this HLC community, or whatever we'll call them, is then actually buying up those orbs and then using them on the bosses and keeping those prices pretty inflated. I'll be interested to see like what the actual wealth divide looks like between the different sort of levels of the community and the player base, because I've definitely contributed to that wealth dividing improving a little bit.
It is a cool system, and I'm interested to see where these orbs settle around. I know at least some people I've been talking to, they were all thinking it would stay around 3.5 to 4 mil, but now we're seeing it kind of drop down to around 250K. I think that's when I last saw it.
2.5 mil, I think. Roughly whereabouts they are. I think they'll probably settle over time. I think probably in the next 3 to 6 months, you probably see them at around probably the 1.5 to 2 mil mark. They'll always maintain that value so long as there's that sort of aspirational content there, and hopefully someone comes up with some great guide where it's they can basically cheese the encounters or makes it really easy with some interesting mechanics, maybe from some new sort of content that's released in the future that makes it a little bit more accessible. So I think they'll always maintain that value so long as they don't release a new sort of best in slot melee armor. So as long as they don't replace Torva, they'll stay pretty high, I hope.
Right, because we have this new recolor that's attached to it. It makes Torva. I think it looks really cool. I've talked to other people who said that they don't like how it looks. But I've seen a lot of people say they enjoy the way this new Blood Torva looks, which comes from the Awoken versions of these bosses.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think there's the appeal visually of it, where it looks pretty dark and ominous and pretty cool. And then there's also the idea that is really hard to get, so that makes it just cool as standard. So that is 100% the reason I'm going for it. I think the look of it, I think, is I buy into it maybe like 60-70%. It looks okay, but then at the same time, the new Torva that's been obviously redesigned, I definitely don't prefer that to the old design. So
that's interesting.
I do not want to be seen outside with that. I want to be in the Blood Torva.
What part of it don't you like? Is it because to me, I think it's mostly the helmet that they've changed. At least that's what stands out as the biggest difference.
Yeah, it's the helmet, and then the torso has changed a bit. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it kind of just feels like before it was this big blocky. It just gave you this bit of like this presence, I guess. When I guess you're in the room with some other raiders or something. Whereas like now it just feels a little bit more. I think the memes going around is like some Tin Man armor or something.
Okay, yeah.
So it kind of feels a little bit like that. It just feels a little bit sort of like weaker and skinnier, whereas Blood Torva is obviously, it's red, it's black, it's dark, it looks pretty badass.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I think that's fair. Do you like this the way they did these hard mode bosses where it's, I don't think it works out to be efficient to farm these awoken versions for uniques, but it's for the cosmetics.
Yeah, I'm happy that they released this the aspirational content like this. But what I would have probably preferred to do, rather than releasing, let's say the Blood Torva ornament kit, just from, you kill all 4 and then you get the final kit on your final boss, because ultimately it's a case of, if I can't do, as a player, if I can't do Leviathan, for example, but I can do all 3 others, or I can't do the Whisperer, but I can do all 3 others, it's like there's such a high barrier to sort of entry. There's just no point in you doing that content and investing that time. I would have probably preferred for them to release the content, with like, I don't know which one it would go, but let's say like the helm kit drops from the Leviathan, the chest from another one, the legs from another one, and then potentially another kit for another item. So the one that I was thinking off the back of my head was, everyone's been asking for like Zaros Mage Arena 2 capes. I was like, that's probably a good opportunity for them to actually do that. You'd have 4 items, and you'd actually have one, let's say you have 3 for the 12 kits, and then 1 for, let's say, your Mage Arena 2 cape. So it's a case of you can flex in your magic gear as well. So it's a case of you'd have that person running around with the 1 or 2 pieces of gear, the Blood Torva or the cape, for example. It creates sort of interaction points for all the players. Like, you're stuck on this bosses, but you've actually managed to do these bosses, which is good to see. So
yeah, that's a cool idea. The way they've decided to go with it is complete the 4 bosses, then you get your recolor and you're good to go.
Yeah, and pray you don't do a double death on that last 4.
What do you mean, double death?
So if I'm not sure if this is actually the case that happens. So you've obviously got to kill all 4 pieces. You actually obviously got to kill all 4 bosses, and then you'll get that final kit on your final boss. But if you die at the same time, then you're going to have to kill one of the bosses again to get that kit. So as far as I'm aware, I think you can go back from any boss to claim it. It's just so long as that boss is registered as dying. So let's say you've had a kill time of 5 minutes, for example. But obviously, if you've died, you're not there to pick up the item. So yeah, I'm praying that doesn't happen to me.
Oh, brutal! Yeah, that'd be no fun. Yeah, that's cool. So, and the last thing I wanted to ask about was this loot table they've done, because we've seen some people kind of. They've complained about it. They weren't super happy with the design when Jagex kind of came out and explained how the ring works, which is you basically have to roll the ring 3 times to get it, but the first 2 are invisible, so you'll never really know if you've rolled it. Which some people have mentioned that they've been complaining on Reddit about it, is basically what I'm trying to say. But what do you think about this system?
Yeah, I think it's partly because like the Jagex team is just so open with how sort of the loot tables and everything work. Previously, like, years gone by, you would not really understand exactly how some of these loot mechanics would work. So it's a case of the fact that someone knows about this. It's a case of, oh, well, I know that I'm dry, so I'm not going to bother continuing with this, continue with the other different bosses. I'm just going to stick to this one boss, which is good in a way, and it's not. It allows you, if you're, say, for an Iron Man, for example, you're not going to have to go. I mean, there's probably someone that's got this, but 3,000-4,000 kills dry until you get the axe head or you get the ring piece, for example. So I think it's good in that aspect, but at the same time, you do get this. Was it the time sunk mentality? What it is? So it's a case of I'm 600 kills deep in this. I do want to try one of the other bosses, but I've got to invest that time again to get this ring. So I may as well just stick with this boss. But you don't really know too far how far you're actually away from actually getting that drop. I know I've seen some people say like they want to donate, I've seen some people they want to say let's use an awakener's orb to see how far you are away from that, which is it's an interesting way of looking at it. But at the same time, you're bound to get it anyway, just with how the sort of the statistics have been done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of agree as well. Like the point that if we didn't know, would we be going into these fights with this like mentality of, I'm investing this time. Do I want to get it? Like you feel committed to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I felt pretty much that way for some of the bosses. It was particularly with some of the axe pieces, for example. Like I wanted to farm one particular boss, like the Whisperer, for example. But by that point, I've already got the Siren Staff. So then actually then need to move on to another boss to make sure I can basically get those other pieces as quick as possible.
Yeah, that's true.
They've basically already done this anyway with the Hydra, alchemical Hydra. So I think the ring pieces, is it? So you need to get like an eye, some other. I can't actually name them. I just buy these off the G. I'm not an Iron Man. So
yeah, same.
Yeah, you need to get all those different. You have to just get all those little ring pieces. But it's a case of now it's a little bit of hidden sort of aspect behind. So you don't actually know where you are in that sort of loot scenario, I guess.
Yeah, maybe it's good to be like it's good for that. It's good for it to be that way. I know not so much now, but when the bludgeon was worth much more than what it was actually worth kind of going for. You get a bludgeon piece, and I'm not a huge fan of Sire, so you kind of go like you feel like you have to you got to finish this off now, or else it's just a waste of a drop.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's definitely the downside to it. If you don't enjoy that particular boss and you're basically somewhat forced basically to commit, even more time to it, it's really not a fun game experience. But at the same time, I'm glad that not every drop mechanic is like that. I mean, for me, for example, like if I got a bludgeon piece, I absolutely hate Sire. It's like my least favorite boss. When it came to the CAs before they were sort of nerfed, I guess, you were doing like 250 Sire kills. Yeah, I was just like leaving that one till last.
Yeah, that's
so yeah, I definitely understand that.
Yeah, brutal. Yeah, Sire's a bit different because not many people enjoy actually killing that boss. So a little bit of a different beast there. Well, Nary, those were all the questions. Did you have any like final thoughts that you wanted to say?
No, I'm really happy with the bosses. Really, really happy with the bosses. There's a few tweaks here and there that they could make, but I think on the whole, they've done a really good job with these. I'm definitely glad that they're in the game. Definitely glad that they're in the game.
That's really exciting stuff. Well, thanks so much for hopping on and talking with me today. You're out there creating YouTube videos. Where can people watch your videos?
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube at Nary Hipples. If you put in just at Nary Hipples and then put in Cheese Guide, one of my videos will probably pop up.
Awesome. Is there any videos that you're particularly proud of that you'd want people to go check out over the others?
Definitely my Inferno video. I was very proud of that one. I've worked so much to get that out there, and I thought it was quite an interesting take on doing the Inferno as opposed to the sort of traditional strats.
That's wicked. I'll put all that in the show notes as well. Anything else? Do you tweet? Do you want people to follow you on Twitter or Twitch or anything like that?
No, mainly just the YouTube for me. I've tried branching out into a little bit of Twitch now and then, but I think YouTube's probably where I want to sort of focus most of my time going forward. Maybe when I get a little bit more well known, then I'll maybe branch out into Twitch and whatnot.
Awesome stuff. Well, thanks again for hopping on. This was great. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
All right, we're going to take a quick little break and head on over to the Grand Exchange, where this is a segment where we can talk about all financial fun stuff. Guys, let's take a look at some of the Desert Treasure 2 items. I'm looking at the Virtus Mask right now, and it looks to be around just under 10 mil. Virtus Robe Top, 53 mil. Virtus Robe Bottoms, 28 mil. So the top and bottom, not too bad. Those are decent scores. The Virtus Mask is dropping. That's kind of expected. It's not the best in slot unless you're an Ancients, but that's super niche. The Soul Reaper Axe is currently selling for 370 mil. You'll love to see it. So looking at the rings, you have the Bellator ring, which is the Warrior upgrade. That's currently selling for 169 mil. The Magus ring, which is the Seers upgrade, is selling for just under 90 mil. The Altor ring, which is the Berserker upgrade, is selling for 150 mil. And the Venator ring, which is the Archer's ring upgrade, is selling for 80 mil. So all pretty decently priced. Nothing, yeah, they're pretty expensive, but not too expensive at the same time. I'm sure this will keep dropping. I'm sure this is quite obvious, but if you're looking to make money, buying the ring to sell it later is not the move. It is going to drop down in price. I say that because, yeah. Anyways, guys, this is a segment where I talk about how you can support the show. We've been a little bit in transition lately, but I truly appreciate everyone who helps support the show and helps keep the lights on and allows the show to keep running on its hosting platform. It does cost some money each month. So again, I really, really appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys for sticking with us as we make this transition. First, if you want to support the show, you can head on over to patreon.com/The Wilderness Podcast. Our top tier supporters, Das Sasquatch, Dean Russin, Flarch King, Flourish, Chris T, Mallard, Splemo, and the Kazi. Thank you guys all so much for supporting the show. And if you guys might have missed it, but Kazi put on a wicked event last month. It was a really fun roulette style event. So thanks for putting that on as well. That was a real great time. I really had fun there. But if you don't want to sign up for Patreon, you can head on over to buymeacoffee.com/dills instead. So thank you to Turkish Scran for buying me a coffee this week. And we're not done there. We're almost done. If you are a avid Discord user and you want to support the show by boosting the Discord server, you can head on over to discord.gg/thewilderness and send a boost our way. So thank you, A Wild Gengar, Flourish, the double whammy, J-Dog, Capri Sunman, and PH Zerker. Thank you guys so much for boosting the server. All right, we are back. So I put a message out on Discord asking what everyone thought of the new quest. So I wanted to run through a few messages that I got. Dr. Feelgood said, absolutely loved it. All the bosses are so unique and the puzzles were great fun. Flarch said that he's a huge fan of the quest. Music and art was awesome, and each boss encounter feels unique and challenging. Finished all but the final boss fight. Wrapping it up this evening, I hope, but a big fan of the Shadow Realm mechanic found in the Whisperer segment. Mitty said, I really enjoyed the quest. It took me a while, even with a guide, but was fun. Bosses are great and have some cool mechanics. Oh my. I am going to butcher your name and I apologize for that. Demi's Gutscheckens. We'll call you Demi. Demi said, quest is awesome. Bosses are new, fresh, and exciting. I've not had this much fun in old school RuneScape in years. However, Jagex managed to fuck it up for me with the last Salisky waves of the 4 Demi bosses, of which Cassand is, in my mind, unbeatable for a guy who knows next to dog shit about ticks and pathing, like me, and plays the game for the sake of fun. I was not able to beat the quest at its second to last step, and since then I did not even start RuneLight. Damn sad for me. And I will say that last section is incredibly difficult. I really struggled with that last part. And Cassand, who's a character that you have to fight in the quest as well. Cassand isn't even a boss at this point when you first fight them. They come after the boss fight. I had more problem with him than I did the actual boss. He killed me like 4 or 5 times. Anyways, I hope you're able to finish that quest out. That last part is very difficult, so don't be discouraged. It was real tough. But let me know what you guys think of the new quest. We have a SpeakPipe link in the description of the episode that you can call and leave any of your voice messages. Doesn't even have to be about the quest or any of the questions of the week. It can be about anything. But we do have some callers. So let's take our first call from none other than That's Johnny T.
Hey, Wilderness Podcast. This is That's Johnny T calling in. Dills, how you doing, dude? Wanted to talk about just an update on what I've been doing in game. LMS, been going to the Oss world. That's been pretty fun. I know this is an unpopular opinion, but the bots there, I think, have helped me ease into PKing a little bit by gaining confidence off of one kill. It's pretty nice. It's kind of nice. And then it allows me to get kind of lucky on other people with better gear. And I've gotten lucky quite a few times with like actual PKers, which is fun.
That's like, I don't know if people talk about this when it comes to the bots. So LMS, this PvP minigame, great way to learn how to PvP. And Johnny T, what are you grinding out there? I know there's some okay rewards, but for irons, I'm not too sure. But yeah, there's this problem where you have these waves of bots that show up into this minigame. And there's like 2 types of bots. They're the bots who are really good at PKing and they're trying to come in first place or get as many kills as possible. Those bots suck to deal with. Or it's the bots that are really bad, but there's so many of them. And what the goal is to flood a LMS match with a lot of different shitty bots. And hopefully your bots will be paired up with each other, and then they can kill each other. And then that's how you get collectively your bot farm is making a lot of points, because those bots suck. And they're great because if you're a new player, it is such great practice, and it allows you to get like free loot, right? You kill them and you get upgrades to your armor and weapons for your next fight. A lot of games do this, I've noticed. A lot of like mobile, and I think Fortnite does this as well, at least they used to. When you first start playing a game and you're like at a low level or a low rank, these PvP games, you end up fighting a lot of bots, but they masquerade the bots to look like other players. They give them funny names and stuff, but the bots suck. And the point of the bots is that you kill them. And it's meant to get you confidence. You feel good at killing them. You get maybe your weapon upgrades, but it makes you feel like you're actually standing a chance. I play these mobile games and I was like coming in first all the time. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And then I realized, oh my God, half the people in this lobby are just like bad bots that I'm killing. So I actually do like when LMS has some shitty bots. I think maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea for Jagex to actually implement like NPCs that are meant to PK, but they suck at it.
It's just been really fun. Because I feel like I've just been skilling, just trying to like gain supplies for the Iron Man. But LMS is super fun if you haven't tried it, and doing barrows as well on the Iron Man, and that's really fun. That's a whole thing. I love it. Anyways, new skill. Very excited for sailing. I think it's gonna be great. It just seems like it's the perfect add-on for RuneScape. Like exploring, dungeoneering type, unlocking new content. I mean, it seems like it's a no-brainer. Anyways, Wild CC Dills, dude, you're great, man. I appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.
Oh, love it. Thanks, Johnny T, for calling in. Always a great time to see. I love when anyone calls in as well, but Johnny T have called in a few times and it always brings a smile to my face. So thank you for that. Barrows is always awesome content. I'm a main account, like in the end game, got a decent bank. I still do Barrows all the time because it's pretty fun. I don't do it all the time, but I do it sometimes. It's great content. And now with the collection log, you always have a reason to kind of run it. The Barrows grind is one of the only grinds, not one of the only grinds. It's a grind when it comes to like playing an Iron that actually looks like fun. I'm sure it's less fun when you're in it and you're trying to get that final piece of the set you're trying to build. But still, I love running it. I think it would be so exciting to get uniques on an Iron. And they're like 1 in 13 of getting a unique drop. So it's like actually realistic to get drops. It's not 1 in 200, 1 in 400, bullshit like that. There's other grinds that put me off from doing an Iron though. Anyways, that sounds like fun. And yes, I agree. Sailing is going to be good. Guys, we have so much talking when it comes to sailing. So much has come out. I'm sure you're aware of it. And we will get there. We will get there. That's Johnny T. Thanks again for calling in. That's here from our next caller, Maticos 1, another frequent caller.
Dills, what is up? It's Maticos 1 calling in again from his office. This time a new office, though. That's beside the point. I am super excited that the Wilderness podcast is back and releasing episodes again after the break. And I wanted to send in my voice and my thanks. But I actually have a question that is not related to what you said on the SpeakPipe summary. That is, by the way, I'm not trying to get you in trouble with Jagex. I'm just actually curious, and you don't have to answer this, but I was curious how many people know your password and how many other people's passwords do you know?
How many people know my password? How many passwords do I know? I don't know anyone's password. Actually, no, that's not true. I know one friend lent me an account that he gave me the password to his PvP account that I'm pretty sure I don't know what happened. Pretty sure it got banned. He like auto clicked on it to give him like 99 magic and all of his other stats at 0. Or at level 1. So he gave me the password to PK on there, and I PK'd once, I think. And it was like kind of fun, but I don't know, I wasn't super into it. I think that's it. I don't think anyone knows my password now. Nobody knows my password. I don't even really know my password. Now that I have a Jagex account, I just click to log in. I have to like go into my password manager to get my password every single time. So I don't even know my password. Yeah, I don't give up passwords anymore. You know, I used to give up my password all the time when I was a kid. All the time. And I got hacked and scammed over and over and over again. There's this one dude named Nuff Seds. His name was Chris, and he had an older brother too. And we would switch passwords all the time. I gave him the passwords to like all my accounts. I have so many accounts, and I gave him all my passwords. Oh my God. And I remember he got scammed on my account once. That's what he said. He got scammed by accident. He was trying to get me some money. Lost a bunch of gear. Another time was he went on my Pure and accidentally got killed and lost all the items on there. And the third time his brother jumped on the account. He went to the bathroom or something and his brother jumped on and took all the items. Brutal. And I remember we made this deal of like, we're going to save up for this real gangster looking setup. We're going to get a Dragon Medium helmet. We're going to get Black Mystic robe top. We're going to get Dragon Plate legs, and we're going to get a Zamorak kite shield. And we were going to look fucking slick. We were going to look all G'd up in RuneScape. Even though we would look like idiots. And I was so close to finally finishing that set, and his brother stole all the items. Son of a bitch. So I guess I kind of learned I don't really give away my passwords too much. And there's like kind of no reason to, because they have to get the authenticator and all of this sort of stuff. Anyways, so we're good.
I legitimately am the only person who knows my own password. But when I was a kid, I would give my best friend my password every time I would go on vacation so that he could manage my farms and my kingdom at Miscellanea for me.
Nice.
And then actually, as far as other people's passwords, right now I don't know any, but I used to know my sister's because she wrote it in her diary, and I was a curious little brother and decided to read her diary, and I found it out, and I used to make her appear in weird places. So anyway.
Brutal. Yeah, we've all been there, right? I'm glad you didn't get scammed or lost anything. I did have some friends who played on the account and didn't worry. I never had to worry, but there's another kid named Chris I went to school with, and we switched passwords, and I remember I went on my account and everything was gone. Motherfucker scammed, like stole all my shit. I would have had to see him at school the next day. But the dude he was such an idiot. He never changed his password. So I just jumped on his account, took all my items back because they were all there. And then I took a little bit extra. And then I changed my password. Yep. Don't lend out your passwords. There's actually, you know what? There's some people. There's a guy who used to be in the clan. This is going years and years back. I wonder if he still listens. He was a 1 defense pure maxed account. Every other stat was 99. So 1 defense pure. And he used to let Tor Vesta PK on his account. I would see him in YouTube videos. I don't know what would happen if Tor Vesta accidentally leveled up his defense. It's scary. I've had a lot of bad things happen because I let someone play on my friggin' account. There's this one kid, when I used to live at my grandparents, we had this kid who lived down the street. He was probably about my brother's age, a little bit younger. So Deegan is 3 years younger than me. So this kid was probably 5 years younger than me. Let's say I'm like 15 years old, probably younger. But anyway, so he's like 5 years younger than me. And he used to like love watching me PK on my Pure, but I couldn't afford to pay for the membership on my Pure because I was already having it paid for on my main, and my grandparents wouldn't pay for, my grandparents or my parents wouldn't pay for 2 accounts. So he would pay for his account because he was a little well off. He came from a pretty wealthy family. So he was like, I'll pay for your Pure account if I can watch you PK. I was like, okay, I mean, fuck, yeah, that sounds like a great deal. And I actually gave him my password because I thought that would be the polite thing to do. Like, hey, listen, you're paying for the membership. If you ever want to go on and, I don't even know what he would do, but here's the password. And then he fucking went and did Dragon Slayer 1. He went and did Dragon Slayer 1 and maybe go from 1 defense to like 36 defense and like completely ruin the account. Anyway, that was brutal stuff. Anyways, you live and you learn. I was talking to someone the other day who their kid's starting to game a little bit, and he was like, I'm going to make my kid a RuneScape account, but I'm thinking of making them an Iron account so they don't get scammed and stuff. And I was like thinking, no, make them a main account, let them get scammed. It sucks, but it's way better to get scammed in RuneScape than it is to get scammed in real life. And guys, we know this. We're friggin' pros at not getting scammed now, where we can like see a scam from like a mile away. Sometimes it's not even a scam and it's just like a really good deal, but I'm like, nah, fuck that. That's probably a scam. RuneScape taught me that this is probably a scam. Ain't no one doubling my money. Not investing in no Dogecoin. I've seen this happen before. Guys, thanks so much for calling. I think I mentioned it before, but there is a SpeakPipe link in the description of this episode. Call in. Let me know what you're doing in game. Let me know what you think about the Desert Treasure 2 bosses, or call in with a question, whatever it is. If you're listening to it on Spotify, there is a way to interact with the show as well, which I didn't even realize. And on last episode, I had a interaction, a message from Jesse saying, what another great episode. I appreciate all the work you put into these on the deforesting Gielinor episode. So you can leave a response there as well. Must be a new feature that's kind of cool. Spotify is really trying to figure out what the fuck to do with their podcasting. I love Spotify for music, hate them for podcasts, but that's a lot of shows are podcast exclusive now, so you kind of have to go there. It's not too bad though. Guys, if you want to join our clan, the clan is Wild in Game, WILD. You can also join our Discord, discord.gg/thewilderness. Email for the podcast is thewilderness.podcast@gmail.com. And yeah, feel free to jump. If you're looking for a clan, I highly recommend joining a clan. You can join ours. Ours is always open as well. We got bingo. By the time you hear this, bingo will have just begun. But we do events every single month. We also do these things called PVM clinics, which is basically we do these things called clinics, which are basically just we run some content, and it's a very casual way to try something. You don't have to, there's no expectation to be good. It's a great time. We did a Theater of Blood clinic the other night where we just did a bunch. We had a bunch of people with 0 kill counts, and we just went and did a bunch of attempts, and we didn't get a kill, but it was a fun. We got to Verzik. It was a fun time. So yeah, definitely join in. And we do big events as well, like bingo and other fun stuff. So take a peek on Discord if that sounds interesting to you. Oh, geez, we have to pick a song of the week, don't we? What song should we do? Let's do a worthy foe. I wanted to do like one of the songs from the final battle of, you know what? Actually, never mind. Let's do one of the songs from the final battle. And you can tell it's very what do the kids say? It's very aesthetic. Guys, I can't talk like that. I'm going to feel way too old. Let's listen to His Faithful Servant. So this is a song that's unlocked the very final battle of Desert Treasure 2. It is based on an unlisted RuneScape music soundtrack that plays when fighting the Barrows brothers. After January 4th, 2012, there was a graphical update to the minigame, and they made a remix of it called The Price is White, which plays during the fight against the Barrows Rise of the Six. This is an update to Barrows for RuneScape 3. Guys, thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you on the next one. I don't really know what the next episode's gonna be about because we have so much to talk about, but we will get there. I'm home now. I'm in my moving blanket studio, so we can get back to recording some content. Love you all. We'll see you next time.